All right, how's everybody doing? This is Cheech from the Cheech and Manny and Joe Silkman show. And we have a great show today. It's about the great Physical Graffiti album by the greatest band in the world, Led Zeppelin. So, how's it going, my co host, Manor?
Cheech! It's going great, man. What's going on, brother?
You know, day at the temple. It's kind of rough, but got through it. Came home, played some bass.
Yeah,
You know,
when is it an easy day at the temple?
it got crazy today. You know, when you see if you see Leslie,
Oh,
he'll
this is funny. You two are gonna get a kick out of this. So one of the subscribers was telling me that they thought we were part of some church or something, or like some, and I
uh,
had to explain them. No, no, it's not a church.
yeah.
It's a
I
code name.
I got are you guys in the Freemasons? Are you guys Jewish? Temple
You guys Jewish.
crazy. But how's it going, Mr. Silkman? How are you?
It's going well. I'm pretty excited because I got my tickets to see Jason Bonham's Led
Mhm.
Zeppelin Experience. They're coming back to the area. They'll be at the Stamford Palace Theater
A
on
great room.
Sunday, May 4th. And I checked first at the website, but Mr. Jimmy is also going to be touring with them again,
Yeah,
playing lead guitar, and they're doing the entire Physical Graffiti album.
that's
That's pretty
so
cool.
appropriate. Like
It's
we're
the
doing it.
50th anniversary of the album. That's why Jason is doing that. So I'm excited to hear tunes like "In the Light" and
Yeah,
"Night Flight" is another
yeah,
one. Of
oh yeah,
course, "10 Years Gone" is my favorite. So
yeah. Got them all here. Which one did I rediscover that I really liked? Oh, the Wanton Song. Like I, not that I forgot about it, but it's such a great fucking. Oh, the such a great. I can't go 2 seconds without you swearing. It's a great riff, the Wanton Song.
You know
Yeah,
what's crazy? Every song on Physical Graffiti is all killer, no filler. It's
yeah.
crazy. It's remarkable. I was telling Joe this is the album I keep listening to now. I kind of
It is,
forgot about four.
it's so funny. Um, so before we get into it, and Joe knows this, you know this too, Manny. I think a lot of these songs were recorded
Yeah.
in studios in 70, 71,
Yeah.
72, 73. So, that's why it does the production's a little off. It's not like the same production.
Yeah.
Uh, so imagine that, like Zeppelin is working on their production all these years, and stuff. And I heard today from someone at the temple, talking about a rapper, and it wasn't Daquan, it was somebody else, and we were talking about rap and stuff. We're pretty cool, and he said, "Oh, there's this new rapper, and he recorded his new album from his jail cell through the jail telephone." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my god, like this dude recorded an album on a telephone. God, things have changed." You know what I
Wait,
mean? Like
so who is the rapper?
I couldn't think of it. I meant to look him up, but
Hmm.
it was just some guy in jail, and he put an album out, but he recorded it on his cell phone, on the prison cell phone, and it's just amazing. Like going to from Abbey Road Studio to Steely Dan Asia to perfecting a sound. You can record an album on your phone, put it out, and
Yeah, sounds about right.
yeah, So I just thought that
I
was kind of
mean, dude, with these smartphones, you can do a lot.
yeah,
I mean, but you
with
say that's a jail phone, though, right? Which is weird.
a jail like well he had to use the prison cell phone. He's in prison, whoever this rap guy is. I just thought it was funny. That you could record an album on your phone now and it's acceptable. It's great, great technology. But I don't know, it's a little story. So any shout outs or anything before we go on?
Joe, any shout outs?
I have no shout outs.
No.
Always do the shout outs. I love it.
We gave you a great shout out for the compliment on the Dylan
On
Highway
John Wesley Harding, which we'll probably
Oh
release 2 Mondays from now.
no, on what Joe said on Highway 61 Revisited about
No, but we said it on the John Wesley Harding
yeah,
episode.
yeah, yeah,
It's going to be
yeah,
released two
yeah.
Mondays from now. But shout out to all the new subscribers. By the way, they have, and I'm gonna just use them, new subscribers. They're digging the show. Today, one of them came up, and shout out to all of them. Really awesome people. I know they're gonna grow up to be, amazing. They actually one of them gave me a compliment. They loved the Highway 61 Revisited episode. He was saying that he really loved it, which I was like, wait, the Highway 61 Revisited episode, you love that one? Okay.
So we got a young Dylan fan now.
Future young Dylan fans, yeah.
That's what we set out to do. That was our goal, to get the young generation to listen to rock, classic rock.
We started with Rush. Like, we wanted to spread the Rush, and then afterwards, other bands.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they don't watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, man. I may have to put, viewer discretion, parental discretion.
Well, I can't help it, Iron Maiden's not in it. Thin Lizzy, all my boys aren't in it. Yeah.
I still cannot believe Thin Lizzy's not in there. That's crazy.
Chubby Checker's not in it.
Well, that's even that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and who else? About Bad Company. Speaking of the Swan Song, which we're gonna get the biggest band on besides Zeppelin, the biggest band on the label to take off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So. But all right, so let's see.
Wait, are we gonna jump right in?
You want to jump in?
I was going to jump in and add on to something. I think Robert Plant should be inducted into the Hall of Fame as a solo artist.
I agree.
If Stevie Nicks is in there like that, there are many, many songwriters. There are people that are in twice. They're in as a band, and then they're in as a solo artist.
Ozzy, I think Ozzy is, right? As a solo artist.
I think he is.
Yeah. Because he
was inducted this year.
Yeah.
The Sabbath was already in.
So, and there's a couple, other people. Yeah. I think Robert Plant should, because he has enough body of work to.
45 years as a solo music.
Yeah. And I don't think Jimmy Page. I don't know if he released some solo albums, but he never sang, right? As far as I know.
Jimmy Page, no.
Right? No.
He never would be considered a Plant. His solo stuff was he had some great solo stuff, but.
Right.
Like Plant.
No, I mean Robert Plant should definitely, because he's legendary.
Jimmy's already in twice. Jimmy's in as the Yardbird.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Page was more concerned with remastering the Zeppelin albums, getting a better quality than doing albums. He stopped playing for a while, and he just focused on putting out box sets and embracing the new technology of the 90s and the 2000s.
Right.
But
I think with Plant, what makes him, first of all, legendary rock singer. I mean, even aside from Led Zeppelin, dude, he's legendary. And the fact that his body of solo work, he's still releasing. I know Joe, Cheech and I were mentioning it. One of his albums that he released in 2011, the sound on it is remarkable. And he's singing. This was 2011. I don't know how he is now, but his singing is still great.
Yeah.
So
and he looks good. Robert Plant,
for his age, yeah.
But I saw a picture of Ian Gillan.
We're talking about
and Roger Glover, who I love, worship like gods. And I was like, wow, these guys they got old, old, especially Ian Gillan. Roger Glover's always looked a little bit older. Gillan, he's it looks like my great grandfather, and he's still a child in time,
But we're getting old as well. I mean, people that go to a Robert Plant concert and think they're going to see a golden god who looks like he's 27 years old forever.
Yeah.
You won't. Yeah. But I do recall, I might have told you this, Cheech, that when I saw him at the Cap Theater, and it was back around 2016, he was looking stage right at one of his guitars, and the light hit him just right on a profile.
Yeah.
The profile was definite classic Robert Plant.
Yeah.
It's still the same guy.
He's still got the moves, He's still Robert Plant. He's,
He has swagger now.
Yeah.
He has swagger.
I know. But it's crazy, just crazy. You always think of these guys as young, in my mind.
Immortalized in their music.
Ozzy looks pretty bad now.
Yeah, Ozzy looks terrible.
Doesn't Ozzy something? Oh, I think he has dementia now or something.
Oh yeah,
something really bad is happening to him. I don't know. I could be wrong. Don't fact check me on that. But something bad happened to him. So I think he's never going to be out there.
Yeah. You know who? I saw a video of McCartney performing. He got old. Like he's not even singing. I mean, it's so great he's touring, but yeah aging. Just
actually, Ringo looks good.
Who?
Ringo Starr.
He looks good. I keep forgetting he's in 70, I think.
No,
I think he's 80. He's got to be.
He's 80? No.
84.
Oh, yeah.
How does he look so good? Actually, you're right.
I have something funny for you guys about Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
He recently performed at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, and there were some surprise guests that joined him on stage. And one of those guests was one of Cheech's favorites, Jack White.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah.
Look at him. He's like, Cheech, remember your 5-minute apology to Jack White.
I'm not. I mean, all right. The thing about Jack White, it's Joe is right. It's not having a bass player. That always I didn't like, and then his cockiness in that movie with some it's gonna get loud.
It might get loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Page.
I felt like he was with Jimmy Page and
in The Edge.
In The Edge, and I didn't think he deserved to be there, in my opinion. Should have had Joe Walsh, or you should have had Richie Blackmore. You know what I mean? Like, why this guy? But it's all good.
I do wonder, as a quick aside, like in the 2000s, like in terms of like guitar heroes or legendary guitar players in 2000s, it'd be great to look. Because Jack White is, I know you're going to disagree, but according to reputable magazines like Rolling Stone, he is considered. And John Mayer too.
Great magazine.
I'm saying like guitar heroes. I mean, Jack White's one of the few, sadly. I mean, to you, I guess. Maybe that's why he's there. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't
consider him a guitar hero.
He is a riff master. I was telling Cheech that.
And he's younger, and I hate to say this to Cheech, but after the White Stripes broke up and he got other bands together, they had bass players.
I heard some of that stuff, but I'm just not a fan. I don't know, but hey, it's all good, it's all good. I like Jack Black better.
the best Jack.
Tenacious D is way better. Anyway, let's get into.
We don't want to get off track.
Oh, look at that legendary physical graffiti.
I know, and I'm going to talk about why this album was delayed was because of that album cover. There were some issues.
Dude, it's legendary because so it's funny because in terms of our podcast, we and I'm actually in the middle of editing this episode, but we just did the double album, maybe the first double album. I know you said you give it to Benny Goodman. I think you said he had this long double album kind of
historical thing. In the historical sense,
But Bob Dylan, gargantuan blonde on blonde, and now we're gonna jump into another gargantuan epic album. I mean, Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, which at this point I know this is gonna sound weird, but Led Zeppelin 4 is still legendary for definitely for what it is, but I think this arguably is their masterpiece. I think this album is Led Zeppelin. I don't know if you guys would agree, but it's just amazing. Like every track is killer, no filler.
It's Led Zeppelin at the peak of their powers, at their most confident, at their most creative.
Yeah.
And some critics did say that they thought that those songs that were done previously in previous years were filler. They were not filler. Oh. They just didn't fit the album format of 20 minutes aside.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing, and I never thought it was a problem. I've heard critics say, the production is off because they recorded it in different studios. So, like, the Rover might sound different than in the Light. You know what I mean?
Well, Cheech, that's true because, and you guys, since I know, like, you guys listen to these records before, when I listen to it, like, there is something off about the production. It's not a critique. Like, for example, like, Plant's vocals will sound like in the mix, they'll sound low on songs like on some songs like the Rover, for example. But then I hear a change, but then that makes sense because they were kind of recording in different studios.
Yeah, and it was done a couple. I think it goes back as far as 70.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, like the Zeppelin 3, 4, Houses of the Holy, and then they wrote 8 songs. And Bonham had a lot to do with the arrangements and stuff on this album, a little bit more, because I'm going to talk about John Paul Jones almost quit the band at one point. He was ready to say goodbye because he was getting burnt out. But 1975. Joe, where were you in 1975?
I was playing a lot of baseball at John Jay High School in Cross River, New York.
Cool.
And buying Physical Graffiti the day it was released.
Oh, you got it the day it was released. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, Joe, was there a line?
I don't think so. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like Harry Potter where the book comes out and you take your kid to the bookstore at midnight. No, it was nothing like that. You hear about pre-orders. I never pre-ordered anything, and I was never shut out getting a record that I wanted.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I listened to side 1 so much, I wore out the grooves on the vinyl.
Yeah, side 1 is where it's at. Where does side 1 end, Joe? Like what's the last song on side 1?
In My Time of Dying, which of course you'll remember from Bob Dylan's first album.
Yep, that's right. And Joe and I, Cheech and Manny, he texted me a little bit of info on that song. It's just remarkable how. I'll be honest with you. I think Led Zeppelin. I know it's based on a very old tune by who was it, Cheech?
John, Blind Willie McTell,
right?
No, Blind Willie Johnson, I think.
But I'll be honest with you. I think Led Zeppelin has the definitive version, and when we get there, it's one of the best songs. I cannot stop listening to that song. Like it's weird.
What I was gonna say is when you were talking about lines, the only time I remember seeing lines, and Joe remember this, is going to a concert like a Ticketmaster, and people would sleep outside back in the day in the 70s, 80s. You'd see like kids just sleeping, right? To when they'd open up just to buy front row tickets. And I remember calling to buy Rush tickets in the 80s, and we had a redial, which was a cool thing on your phone, and just hitting redial to get those tickets and read off your credit card, back in the day. But I think this album is going to be a 2-parter because there's no way we could do the whole album in this one session tonight. But anyway, so Joe, you remembered buying the album. That's historic. That's great, man. So
the album cover was just so much fun. There was just so much to look at. I didn't understand most of it, picture, but some of it's bizarre. But it was just a great album cover with great music on it. 15 years old. What am I going to listen to? Kiss Alive 2, or am I going to Kiss Alive, the first album, or am I going to listen to Physical Graffiti? And that year, Physical Graffiti won.
Yeah, and I think what else? Was there a Kiss album that came out that year? I don't have it.
Well, I guess jump into Cheech. Do you have the 1975? What albums were released? What do you got?
Yep. Well, next to Zeppelin. I mean, this is a tough one. Like the greatest band in the galaxy released 2, so they had 2 on Zeppelin.
What did they release?
Black by Night, Rush.
Oh man,
Rest of Steel.
Legendary.
But that's still I think Zeppelin had more songs on the double album than they had Rush on 2 albums. You know what I mean? Because there was only 8 songs on there. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody,
legendary.
Neil Young, Tonight's the Night.
Mm-hmm.
The Who by Numbers, Kiss, Dressed to Kill. And you said Kiss Alive, Joe, was 75?
I'm checking myself right now.
I
thought I had it.
I had it in 76. I remember being in kindergarten.
Well, that would make sense. You probably bought it in 76 or something.
Aerosmith, who I thought we should do a show on, definitely. Toys in the Attic.
Oh, yes.
This guy.
Wait.
75, Kiss Alive released.
Yeah,
Well,
75.
is that their iconic like first live?
Oh yeah,
Right, the one that has Rock and Roll All Night.
yep,
That's
yep.
cool.
It broke him, and for like 40 years, I believed that it was really done live. And now Gene Simmons says no, the whole thing was,
It's kind of yeah, it's famous. It's like overdubbed. Also, Peter Frampton's live album too.
Well, some of it was live, and there was just a lot of mistakes. So they
Yeah.
would go,
There was like a lot of overdubs. You know what I heard too? That was the case for live at Budokan.
yeah.
Studio overdubs too.
Oh yeah,
Like, for the most part, it's live, but it's not 100% live. Remember how we talked about All the World Stage Rush's All the World's a Stage is one of one of the few like truly like live albums. Like they're
they didn't overdub anything.
no, because Exit Stage Left, I think they overdubbed it a little bit.
And I think Humble Pie live at the Fillmore, they just kept all the stuff. Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. This weird guy who plays harmonica and wears sunglasses, Blonde on Blonde. I'm sorry, no, the Basement Tapes. I mean, you know that guy?
I don't know who that is. Who is that, Cheech?
I don't know. This weird guy. He plays harmonica.
Sounds like a nobody.
Yeah, he's a complete unknown.
He's a complete unknown.
I knew that was coming.
Kraftwerk. I had to mention that for their innovative, just bizarre stuff. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the album. ABBA, the famous ABBA album.
How do you two feel about ABBA?
I love ABBA.
I was gonna say, dude, I'm surprised. It's funny in the rock world. I guess this used to be a thing. There used to be a lot of ABBA hate, but I never understood why.
There's a brilliant band. They had so many great songs. Dancing Queen.
Their production.
Yeah,
I don't remember any ABBA hate, and I was, listening to the radio when those songs were being played on the radio.
Really?
So Joe, it's funny because I don't know. I guess it must be. I don't know if it's a millennial thing, but anyone that listens to ABBA was considered like
Well, Mamma Mia or something. The play that came out.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, well, that's one of the reasons why I got hate because people that Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I think once a band does a musical, becomes a musical, it could change a little bit. I like the Green Day one though. That was pretty cool. They did a musical.
Yeah.
It's a Heart, Dreamboat Annie, and this was in the Beatles. John Lennon, Rock and Roll.
Mm-hmm.
Blow by Blow by Jeff Beck, which is insane.
That's a good one.
AC/DC, TNT. They were just starting to get out there and get famous. Mm-hmm. And then Dylan, Blood on the Tracks, was 75.
Man,
it's crazy.
Great year.
Well, I guess he did one album that year. I mean, and I know we go back to Rush all the time, Joe. Now we're going back to Dylan a lot.
Yeah, right.
I just looked up Desire, and Desire was released the first week of 1976, January 5th.
Wow, he was busy.
He was busy.
He had like Renaissance.
He must have wrote Blood on the Tracks and Desire at the same time. He must have wrote and recorded.
Dude, yeah, and one more, dude, a little album called by a little band called
Black Sabbath?
No, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, 1975.
Okay. And I forgot.
Also released.
Black Sabbath Sabotage, which is
legendary year.
Oh yeah, this is classic. And there's
wait. And Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run.
That's right.
Dude, what a legendary year.
What an amazing year. Joe, you were so lucky.
Joe, how could you pick between Physical Graffiti and Born to Run?
I was just a wee lad, and I think I was just listening to, just got into Kiss, and I was upset. All I listened to was Kiss in 1975. I might have discovered Rush in 76 a year later, and I didn't
Wait, Cheech, and when you got Chris of Steel, you loved it, right? Like first listen?
Oh yeah. But that was in high school. If you played that, if young Cheech heard that in 76, I would have been like, well, I got turned on to in 1976. I had an older aunt, and we had a guy, a cousin or an uncle or somebody who owned a restaurant, and they had a lot of stuff from the jukebox. I guess they used to actually play albums, Joe, in the jukeboxes back in the day when you put a quarter in. It would be an
I only
album.
remember singles.
Yeah, singles. So those, that's
45s.
45.
That's pretty
So
cool.
ton of 45. So I was so lucky to go in my grandmother's house and being super young, discovering 2112, discovering Boston's first album in 1976, A Kiss, trying to think of some of the other. This is right when and then later on Saturday Night Fever came out.
Saturday Night Live, like the album.
Saturday Night Fever. I think that was 77.
Oh, I'm sorry. Saturday Night Fever. Saturday Night Live Fever. That's right.
Yeah.
John Travolta and Bee Gees.
ELO. I remember listening to a lot of ELO. So I was exposed to that at a young age. So I got it like Joe would have got it, but not like Joe got it because Joe was a teenager. I was just a goofy kid who just was happy. And
I was 13. I was in the 9th grade, and everything was new to me. And I used to put on the headphones and listen to it loud. And my mother would say, "Don't do that. You're going to hurt your hearing." And then 3 years later, I went to see Judas Priest, and they hurt my hearing. And I haven't been the same since 1978.
Oh, I know, but I remember giant headphones, cranking it up to 10. With those. It was like a little speaker in the friggin' headphones. Now, the things everyone has in their ears, the AirPods, there's features that it's safe. So you don't lose your hearing. They added something to it.
Yeah, but dude, the sound quality, that's not a way to listen to music, honestly. But I'm not judging, but sound quality is not the same as your headphones.
An old stereo, and you put the Rover on, and you get the old pad. They had pads, right, Joe? There was pads in a speaker, and you put that on 10, and you put it up to your ear, and you put the Rover on. Then you put the little earbuds in. Now you're gonna hear such a difference.
Huge.
No, so I think Neil Young, Tonight's the Night. Did I say that?
Yeah, you mentioned that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got on 75. Great year for music, man. And then it just gets better, as the years go on.
From here on, yeah.
All right, so. Physical Graffiti, 1975 double album. It was the first album under the Wanton Song label, and I'm going to talk about that at some point. Zeppelin recorded 8 new songs in 1974 at Headley Grange, and the rest of the songs came from sessions from Zeppelin 3, Zeppelin 4, and Houses of the Holy. It's a different style on this album. It's rock, prog rock, rock and roll, folk. The album was supposed to come out in 1974, but because of the album cover by Peter Corriston, the die-cut album cover was difficult to manufacture. So to make it, all the little things to move around, they had to go and do make that a bunch of times to get it right. So that delayed the production of the album coming out, So it was supposed to come out in end of 74. It came out in 75. So, all right. So recorded, I guess it goes back. Some of the songs go back to 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. Swan Song. And it was distribution by Atlantic, produced by Jimmy Page. The singles were Trampled Underfoot and Black Country Woman. Went number 1 in the UK, number 3 in the US. And this is something me and Joe always talked about. To promote the album, they did 5 nights at Earl's Court. And if you ever got a chance to see that, Manny, it's on YouTube. Me and Joe talked about it for years because we had the How the West Was Won, the DVD,
right?
And it was 1970, then Earl's Court, then Nebworth, right, Joe? I think that's how the DVDs went.
Yeah. It started with the Royal Albert Hall in 1970.
Yeah, and that was them. Like you could see them just raw, trying to figure things out. You know, it's amazing. Time they got to Earl's Court, they were polished. Everything was perfect. And Nebworth was kind of like they were just on fire, but you could see the end of where this band. You know, it was nearing the end of Zeppelin. But I don't know which. I think I like Royal Albert Hall the best. You know, on that out of the three. But
I just it's Earl's Court.
Earl's Court is genius. It's amazing because you get to hear all the stuff from Physical that they do. But I just like the rawness and just seeing how young they were, and just they had all this youthful energy and just going insane. And then seeing Nebworth, how they were like, I mean, they hit the level of like they were on fire. Like Achilles' Last Stand at Nebworth, it was insane, and then it was just over, after that, which is really, really sad. So, but so that's that. All right. Okay. So this is interesting. Kashmir was recorded in 1973 on Ronnie Lane's mobile studio, but they stopped the recording because John Paul Jones got sick and he was unable to record. But he was also disillusioned with the group, and he was tired of touring. He told Peter Grant that he was going to quit, and then Peter Grant said, "Just take the rest of the year off." And then, when he got back to Headley Grange, they started to write and record the rest of Physical.
Wait, so who threatened to leave? John Bonham?
John Paul Jones.
John Paul Jones.
Yeah. He was sick, and there's a story about I'm going to get to about why he was going to do. So where am I? Okay. And they started to record without him, and Bonham did a lot of he was more involved with arrangements and a lot of the ideas. They recorded 8 new songs, and they had a whole bunch of extra songs that they added to it. The double album, Physical Graffiti, Jimmy Page said it was very difficult to make the album because he put a lot of energy into it, and it was a hard album to produce and try to get the right production. So he tried, because he even heard the difference in different studios. So he was trying to do the right thing, to make it sound one production, but it was literally impossible. And because
one thing about Jimmy, Headley Grange, where they did the 4th album, he was so excited to be going back to Headley Grange just for the drum sound alone.
Oh yeah,
so, Jimmy and John Bonham worked very closely, I think, purposely to get the right sound.
Yeah, Bonham worked a little more than he normally would, I think, on this album. Instead of like just playing the drums and then going to the pub.
And just for our viewers out there who might not know Headley Grange, why is it important, or why did Page kind of was excited to be back?
Well, I think because back then they stopped using recording studios for a while and would rent houses and mansions and cottages and stuff, and record the drums in the pantry of a giant mansion or a house. So you'd get a different sound when you record in a house. I did that with one of my bands. We recorded in the guitar player's house, and it sounded so much better than in a recording studio, just the drums and stuff. Now that's how everybody records, But I'm talking about going into a castle, setting up a recording studio, and then getting all the ambient sounds that are bouncing around that bleed in and stuff. Because it was different times in different studios, you had different engineers. You had Greg Chikanzik. I'm butchering this poor guy's name. Chikanzant, 1972. Keith Hardwood, 1974. My boy Andy Johns, 1970-71. Eddie Kramer, 1972. Ron Nevinson, 1974. And Peter Grant was the producer. The executive producer on the album. Oh, did you see the thing I sent about Peter Grant's daughter? About the movie?
Yes.
Yeah. I sent that to you, Manny, I think, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did.
Interesting. How she owns a lot what he owned. Now she pretty much makes the decisions. You know.
I thought the family sold their interest in Led Zeppelin, but they might still have some.
They have
song purchasing, writing.
I think
interest. Yeah.
They have something to do with Swan Song, that era.
Yeah.
From what I read.
I think she was just disappointed that her father didn't get more credit for the band's success, because he basically insulated them from any outside distractions. And they got handsomely rewarded for it. Yeah. None of those guys had to work after the age of 30.
No. And I mean, Zeppelin may not have been as big without Peter Grant. He's the greatest rock and roll manager ever. You know, he made Zeppelin what they were. Like, I remember a promoter was saying, if you got Zeppelin wanted like 98% of everything when they played the show, and they said 2% of Led Zeppelin is amazing. We'll take that. That's how insane Peter Grant was. I can't imagine him being a dad though, because he's such a crazy dude.
I was gonna say, dude, like I was watching there's a documentary on Netflix on hypnosis, the the album design, art house, and they designed Houses of the Holy for Led Zeppelin, and them trying to deal with Grant. They said this man was imposing, like he definitely was kind of scary too. Like the people at hypnosis trying to talk to him, and so definitely, yeah. I don't know. I can't picture him as a dad.
Him and D. Anthony from Humble Pie, they were the two big ones you didn't mess with, And I would say the third greatest manager would be Ray Daniels from Rush. He took them to high places too. UK went double platinum, US double platinum. So you have Robert Plant on vocals and harmonica, Jimmy Page on electric, acoustic, lap steel, slide guitar. Now this is interesting, which makes this album so cool. John Paul Jones introduces the clavinet, and that's that like funky, Custard Pie intro, and that was taken from his influence from, my guess is Stevie Wonder, because Stevie Wonder used it.
Wait, are you talking about? Wait, is that you hear it on Trampled Underfoot? Is that what you're talking about? Not Custard Pie, right? That sounds right.
Yeah, and that was taken from 70s funk bands. So they were listening to like Stevie Wonder, the Ohio Players, all that stuff.
Right.
Remember that bootleg, Joe, where Jimmy Page went into Shaft? Did you ever hear that?
I don't recall it, but I know he used to try to sneak little things, green sleeves and old 50s rockabilly, guitar parts and stuff. He'd sneak them in.
They were listening to, a lot of stuff at that time. And the clavinet is such an interesting change for Led Zeppelin, because it's a funk instrument. It's like a
But dude, in another world they could have recorded a funk album. Like they were so good at it.
Yeah.
Like I love that song so much. And remember the crunch? Is that how you say the crunch?
There's a song on Coda called We're Gonna Groove, which is
amazing. They could have recorded a funk album in another lifetime. Like they had that groove.
And the clavinet is like a funky harpsichord, pretty much. And he also had that triple neck guitar that he was playing.
Well, you said triple neck or double neck?
The triple neck.
John Paul Jones played the triple neck.
What was on that? A mandolin. It was like a mandolin, like a acoustic guitar. I didn't even know.
I think it was a mandolin and I think it was all acoustic. So a 6-string acoustic and 12-string acoustic.
Yeah, and like a mandolin.
And just FYI, just one more fun fact about Hedley Grange. Genesis, Lamb Lies on Broadway. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So how's I got excited for that.
And Bad Company too.
In Bad Company. Yep.
Yes. It's kind of like Los Studios.
Yeah, that's what it's the England version.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe. I bring up a Rush reference.
Yeah, we always got to bring up Rush.
We've been good. It's been more.
Wait a minute, has Rush done a double album?
Yeah.
I know they were proggy long sides, but
I think Exit Stage Left is a double. Oh, actually,
it doesn't count though. That's a live album. No, like a double live studio album.
Oh, that. No.
They haven't done one. That's such a missed opportunity.
Maybe Clockwork Angels.
I was gonna say, yeah, like maybe, but that's CD, right? Was that on one CD? Because I don't have the CD. Do you remember?
I don't know if it's a double album. Might be. I can't recall if they did a double album. Live albums, they put like a lot of stuff.
Of course.
And then John Paul Jones is all over this album. The Mellotron that he starts to play, like on Kashmir and stuff. And I'll talk a little bit, when we get into those songs. John Bonham on drums, percussion, and of course Ian Stewart on piano. Again, they bring him back on Boogie with Stu, and Ian Stewart played on Rock and Roll, the Rolling Stones keyboard player. Okay, now I got to remember to keep this G rated. So
yes, keep it G rated. So
this is tough to maybe we should skip this meaning.
Yeah, because it starts off. I mean, it's funny because Led Zeppelin is kind of known for that, but it's like double entendre. It's like, it's funny. Custard Pie.
Well,
you listen to it. Is he talking about a custard pie?
No, he's not talking about the dessert. He's talking about another dessert.
G rated.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheech, you're gonna get a kick out of this. I say that because they noticed that you curse a little too much. So I tell him, don't mind him, he's a pirate. So, we go back to our pirating days.
I look like Blackbeard age.
Dude, you do look like, yeah, all you're missing is the sailor hat, the eye patch.
Right? I'm Cheech, Blackbeard. So let me see. So yeah, we know what that means, and it's based off an old blues song by Blind Boy Fuller called "I Want Some Pie." Brown McGee's Custard Pie Blues, and then one lyric in it, says "Allow me to fool around all night." So we don't have to really. We know what it's about.
Yeah. We'll just say it's about a delicious custard pie.
What was the hair band, Cheech, that did Cherry Pie?
Oh, Warrant.
Yeah, that was Warrant.
Yeah.
Wait,
is that a reference to this?
No.
I'm sure if we listened to those lyrics or looked at the video.
Oh my God.
Are they talking about Cherry Pie?
Well, there was a beautiful girl, Bobby Brown. Her name was not
on the video, right? That was her.
She ended up marrying
the singer.
Yeah. She was this gorgeous girl that was in a lot of the. She was like, almost like Pamela Lee was the girl at the time. She was like, right underneath Pamela Lee and
right.
The girl from the White Snake video, Tawny Katane, who was another.
I was gonna say, and she ended up marrying the lead singer.
Was they no.
Or going out or something. I know they were dating.
They dated, and Dave Coverdale tells a funny story. When he started to date her, he was sleeping, and O.J. Simpson banged down the door and kind of like threatened Dave Coverdale. You better stay away from this woman. This is prior to O.J., this is like a couple of years earlier. So she was messing around with O.J. too. And Dave Coverdale had no idea who he was, so he thought he was like a criminal coming into the house. He didn't know he was a famous football player because he was from England. He had no idea who O.J. Simpson was. So I just thought that was funny. Side note. Yeah. cherry pie, custard pie.
Custard Pie, yeah. But I think musically, this is where the song shines.
Yeah. Yes.
Because well, how does it open up?
It's a funky blues. And it has the clavichord in it, funky guitar, um, funky inspirational bass line. It's amazing. Great chorus and melody. And it has that Stevie Wonder.
Wait, Cheech, I think that's for Trampled Underfoot.
No, this one too. This one has the
You
clavichord.
think Custard Pie is like funky? I always saw it as like more hard rock.
I think there's a funk element to it, you know.
I don't know.
When I listen to it, you know.
All right, and that pops up in your research.
It had that like down, down, down.
Okay. I always define it by like that. It always like because it starts out the album sort of similar to the song remains the same or Black Dog, where it's like that riff, and like you said, and it just goes into classic Zeppelin.
I don't know.
But if you saw funk, I mean, I never saw that, but
because of the clavichord that's in it, you know.
Where does the clavichord show up?
It's in there. You got to listen to it. It's like
Okay.
it almost sounds like a bass, you know. So
Okay.
I think it's kind of a funky tune, but it's definitely rocky as well. I would say it's a funky blues. That's how I would define that. And I would say it's influenced by Freddie King, who's like a funky blues type of player. What do you think, Joe? Am I off on that, or what's your opinion on Custard Pie?
I don't know my Freddie King. I think the tune is a rock tune. I don't think of it as being funky. I think of it as rock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've always heard it in my head. Maybe because I did it in a funk band, and we always played that riff like bow no. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I always heard it.
I could see how you could. Yeah, I could see how it could be a funk track, but the thing is, like, just when I listen to it, I hear it's like a Black Dog Part 2. Like that's the way I like.
Can you play it? Can you play it quick? Because
the problem is when I get demonetized or like if this video makes money.
I think it's the
copyright strike.
It's the clavichord in it.
Wait, are you sure you're not talking about Trampled Underfoot? This is okay.
No,
okay.
It goes,
okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Like
okay.
And that always, to me,
it's funny because I think the guitar riff is so dominant that I never paid attention to that. I don't know.
Yeah,
and the lyrics too. Especially when he sings, when he sings, chewing your piece of your custard pie. Like, I just hear the lyrics in the guitar riff.
Can you play like 2 seconds of it? I'm just
sure.
I mean, crazy.
If you get a copy strike, do you care?
What do you mean? Is that
so? If we get a copyright strike, let's say if we become famous one day, this video we're not gonna be able to make money off it. If we go,
it's a
okay. I'll play it. Let me know how it sounds.
Plant plays a really wild harmonica part on this too.
Oh, that's Plant on harmonica? I always forget Plant's a harmonica player. I guess it doesn't matter, right? I'll just play it. Okay.
Sure.
Joe, see if you hear the funk and the clavinet?
Yeah.
Ready? Oh, you're right. Woo. You're right. I hear. Okay. I never noticed that.
So,
but it starts with guitar, right? And then it's clavinet.
Then you hear it. Yep.
So the clavinet always, when I hear it, I think of Stevie Wonder, Superstitious.
Yeah. For sure.
So it does have that, to me, funk vibe. So
yeah. Now I hear it. It's just so funny. It's just so guitar riff dominated, and like, how would you describe Plant's vocals? Like bluesy, right? Like very
bluesy rock.
Bluesy rock. I never noticed that. You're right. Wow. All right.
Yeah, always
bass player knows.
I love it. It's so cool because I when I was young I thought it was a bass. Then my bass teacher was like, no, it's clavinet, and he explained to me what that was. So So, all right. This is interesting. This is educational for the young ones out there.
The younglings.
Like young ones. Joe, you remember the young ones on MTV? The show?
No, I don't. Sorry.
All right. So,
Wait, what is the young ones? I don't even know.
The Young Ones is the greatest show ever that was on MTV. And people might
never heard of it.
Oh, you got to go on YouTube and put in the Young Ones. It was these three guys from England who lived together. These three crazy English dudes. There was a punk rocker, a hippie, and then this like cool suave guy. And they would just get into all kinds of trouble and stuff. And they were called the Young Ones. And then Motorhead actually played on the show in their apartment. They had a party and Motorhead played. Funny. I don't know. Side note. The Rover. So, once again, Plant's history comes out. And it's about a ship. They're in the, I'm going to say it wrong, Napoleonic Wars.
That's really cool.
You know, that fought in the battles. It was a privateer ship. It was built in 1800. And you know, I've been to London. I've seen the Seven Wonders, and that's what he's saying, that it, you know, it went to India, it went to the Amazon, it went to London, it went to Egypt. So it did all that. It was built in Canada. It took down other ships. It was notorious, you know, in battle. And unfortunately, it sunk in the West Indies. So he's pretty much describing the Rover, you know, the actual, the ship. You know, the lyrics are, you know, I didn't get too deep into the lyrics. There's a lot of lyrics, but it talks about like being on a boat out in the sea and that kind of thing. You know, there's one line. I'm trying to think of a line in it, like the end of a new world and the shambles of the old, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, kind of about battle and stuff like that. It's my take on it. I never really knew that. Did you know that, Joe, that it was a historical piece?
No, I didn't, because I just too wrapped up in Bonham starting the song with those heavy drums.
Oh yeah,
and then coming in with like a power chord. And
I was gonna say, because yeah, thank you, Cheech, for that, because that's like the little history of it, and I definitely see it in the lyrics for sure.
Yeah.
He has one interesting lyric that I always love is I used to rock it. Sometimes I'd roll it, like rock and roll, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I could definitely see this Rover, you know, traveling around the world, and lyrically it's great. But I think where again shines is musically, because Bonham's drumming, which I think starts the song off or kicks the song off, and then you hear Page's guitar riff, and I don't know if you guys would agree with this. Plant's vocals, I feel like they're kind of mixed low.
Yeah,
like they're kind of below the instrumentation, which I always found like, huh? Like I was like, I love the song. I was saying she's one of my, I consider it like one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. Like it's like rock music.
Legend has it he was sick. He was sick when he recorded it, or like, and they had to record it at that time, and you could kind of hear it in his voice a little bit. I think when I listened to it, you know. What were we gonna say, Joe? I'm sorry.
Jimmy has a really nice guitar solo, also about 3/4 of the way in. It's
classic,
classic. It's really well thought out, beautifully done.
You can hear the bass drum squeaking in the intro when it's like bow, 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 bow. If you listen closely, you'll hear the squeak, and you hear Page kind of just like slide in. Notorious riff, amazing riff. Plant's poetic, historic lyrics, great story that he tells. In the bass line, it's funky. If you listen to the bass line, it's like a Motown line. So it's a very weird song. It has that heavy, hard rock groove, but the bass line is almost counterpoint to it, you know. And I love.
You know what's crazy? It was Houses of the Holy outtake. Like, dude, if this was an outtake, dude, I just imagine if that was on that album.
Yeah, I know.
It would have been legendary.
It's like legendary. It's probably one of my favorite Zeppelin songs of all time. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yes, I don't know, Joe. I don't know if you want to comment on this. What this song has something that's so I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's just so addicting.
It's funny, they never really played it live. I don't think they ever played it in its entirety live. But what they did on the 75 and the 77 tours was they would play the beginning of the Rover, and then it would segue into Sick Again. Which is the last song.
And I'm shocked because I was telling Cheech that this song was meant to be played live.
Also, the rumor is Down by the Seaside was never played live.
I believe that.
Yeah, and John Paul Jones did not like that song for some reason. Because that's a weird song. It's odd.
What I read about that song was that Plant may have gotten influenced by Neil Young's Down by the River, and I'm going, no, I know the lyrics of Neil Young's Down by the River. You know, it's nothing the same. There's no way they're connected.
When we get to it, I did read it was inspired by Neil Young, but I don't know if it's Down by the River. You know, it could be.
Well, you know, it's funny. I don't think Down by the River per se, but it does have a Neil Young sound. That song, like not Down by the River, but it does have a Neil Young sound. So I could see that.
Yeah, but it's
Down by the River is like, you know, I shot my old woman down type of thing. You know,
right? Yeah,
and it's like 15 minutes.
The Zeppelin song Down by the Seaside is more about climate, I think, what we're doing to the earth, environmental.
It's true. Okay. In my time of dying.
11 minutes. This is an epic.
Every morning at 4:30 when I have to go to the temple.
Is this the song you put on when you walk through those doors, Cheech?
No. As soon as I get up, Jesus, make my dying bed now. I don't want to go to the temple.
Help me, Jesus.
Actually, James knew this song by Blind Willie Johnson because
what? Wait, James?
Yeah, because Blind Willie Johnson is a gospel.
Oh, the gospel. That's right.
He wrote John the Revelator too. So he's like,
and it's crazy because and that's the same one that Bob Dylan covers on his first album, right? Like that cover.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So in my time of dying, man, you're gonna have fun with this one. You know, we're
strapped in.
It's like Ash Wednesday week. You know, there's a lot of religious themes maybe in here. You know, we've been talking about since last night was like going to a catechism with the Bob Dylan.
It's like going to church.
Yeah. So it's about dying, and there are religious names in the song: Jesus, Saint Peter, Gabriel's horns. It's about forgiveness from Jesus. Gabriel, let your horn blow. Saint Peter at the gates of heaven. Meet me, Jesus. Somebody who wants forgiveness. Oh, my Jesus. Angels sing. I touch Jesus. It's basically, in my opinion, a sinner who is dying and wants forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And you got all the great, all the famous people, St. Peter at the gates, Gabriel with the horn, and I just love that, Jesus make up my dying bed. So it's somebody who's dying and is like, am I going to make it? Where am I going? Am I going to heaven, or am I going because I was a bad person? I did bad things. That's just my interpretation of it.
You're right about, and just on that last part, you're right, because this song is the like the Catholic Christian dying, and he's trying to get in. He's I like the line here. Oh, I did somebody so good. Like he's trying to tell. I guess he's talking to Jesus. Like I did some good. Like I did someone good, and he kind of. I love Plant's vocals. How they're so kind of like in this classic style. He's like urgent, and because he's dying.
And if you hear Blind Willie Johnson's, it's kind of, it's that hokey kind of sound, but it's like, oh my Jesus, that kind of thing. So they kind of took it and and made it, Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Zeppelin.
Yep. But you know what's funny, Cheech? Just comparing the lyrics to the Blind Willie Johnson version,
Yeah.
which it's pretty great. It's great. It's funny. Led Zeppelin. I don't know if this was Bob Dylan. I should have done my research on this, so no one fact checked me. It's just like off the cuff thinking. But Zeppelin added Saint Peter and Gabriel. Like it's not in the Blind Willie Johnson version.
Nah, interesting.
No, because that's very Catholic.
Yeah.
So I wonder what's up with that. I don't know if it was Bob Dylan. I have to check his version, but
I think because it's a Baptist song.
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, is someone Catholic in the band? Like, I don't know if you two. Like, it's strange.
Exactly.
They modified the lyrics.
They would have been Protestants. I don't think. The
this is a strange song.
The only English Catholic I know is Bruce Dickinson, which is strange. He's Catholic, and most English people are Protestant, I believe.
What I find interesting is that if you look at the album cover, all four band members are credited with writing the song. If you look at the Bob Dylan version, it says traditional arrangement, Bob Dylan, but you know that it's Blind Willie Johnson. But he recorded that. He only recorded until 1930. I think he had no legal rights. I only think he did like 5 recording sessions in his life.
He didn't do a lot. I mean, the Blind Willie Johnson came out in 1927. So this song is almost 100 years old. Isn't that crazy?
So legally, I don't think they could get in trouble for copying it and taking credit for it. But it looked like Dylan at least tried to say that he took a traditional arrangement and he worked on it.
So Blind Willie Johnson didn't get any money from it. Not that he was alive at that time.
He probably had no estate.
Yeah. I mean, just about him, he was from Texas. He wasn't from the Delta, which is different. He's pre-Robert Johnson. He's pre, Buka White and Son House. He did gospel blues. He was a great slide player. He had powerful vocals. And I'm trying to think. Oh, did I talk about the music at all?
Not yet. We've been focusing on the lyrics. So before
but that was just a little bit. If you want to know about Blind Willie Johnson, he's a Texas guy, opposed to say, Robert Johnson,
But you know what's funny with that? Like but they modified the lyrics. Like it doesn't even resemble. Like it does have like the original song for like the structure, but again they added a few elements, so they kind of like changed it a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's why I say they have the. I know that's traditional, and they could have given credit to him for sure, or Bob Dylan, and whoever else covered it. But they did change some of the lyrics around.
A lot of people covered it. Clapton.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people covered it.
Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Staple Singers, John Sebastian, and Fairport Convention. And this guy also.
I bet nobody did 11 minutes.
No, and
it's the longest Led Zeppelin song in their catalog. It's over 11 minutes long.
Yeah, I was telling Cheech this song, and I guess I don't know. It's so strange, like lyrically, on the album, it's so strange that they included this song. Like, why do you two or any of you do? Why do you think they included this song? Like, was it to show homage to the original?
They were listening to Blind Willie Johnson because he also wrote "Nobody's Fault But Mine." That's a Blind Willie Johnson song. So a lot of people don't realize Zeppelin were blues historians. I've watched documentaries on the blues, and they would go to Led Zeppelin, some of these people, and they say, yeah, we asked Robert Plant, and he knew this particular song. He also wrote John the Revelator as well. And that might have been like his big 3. And then by 1930, he died. I don't know what happened to him. but he didn't. There's a bunch of blind guys too, like Blind Willie McTell, Blind Lemon Jefferson. He was from Texas, so a lot of these blind guys making great music. Musically, powerful blues slide guitar opener.
The slide guitar is so great. Yeah.
Now they use the Delta blues musical influence on it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could hear it.
The drums are insane. The drums are just so powerful. The bass line is and the bass line follows the main riff. Great blues style vocals. Clint nails it. Taking that style from Blind Willie Johnson. Any comments on the music?
Joe, any comments?
The drumming is unbelievable.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
When Bonham talks about Karen Carpenter maybe not being able to, last a few Zeppelin numbers,
I don't know.
He's talking about this song, "In My Time of Dying."
I gotta say, me and Manny, we I don't know if you're a Carpenters fan. You probably are. Growing up.
I love it.
So
she had a great voice.
Oh, beautiful! And Manny's video of her doing a Buddy Rich style drum solo, and I was like,
I was shocked at her ability.
She won Rolling Stone magazine #1 drummer of the year in 1972, and she beat Bonham out. God, like what?
No, you better fact check that, Cheech.
Are you sure about that, Cheech? You're gonna have one.
I looked up the article.
She came
in 10th. I forget who #1 was, but she came in 10th, and Bonham was 11th.
Who was #1? Oh, sorry, you forgot.
Well, there were some great jazz masters back then.
So
who were still alive, and Playboy was like supposed to be a sophisticated, upscale men's magazine. So it was an older demographic that was reading it.
So people read
at that time. I had the old drum.
Yo, keep it G-rated.
What?
People read the article.
Yeah, they read the articles.
No, I never read those articles. But yeah, I knew she beat Bonham out.
Well, I will say, like, for all Karen Carpenter, for her ability and skill, which I think her singing is obviously eclipses her drumming talent. I think I do agree with Joe or John Bonham's drumming, especially on this track, dude. It's insane. Like, I can't believe he has that sound. Like, every time I hear his drumming on this song, because at this point I think I've listened to it this month. I think I've listened to it like 50 times already. I mean, oh yeah.
Okay, you want me to give you the top 10 drummers of that year?
What year is it, Joe?
Oh shoot.
I think it's 72.
1975, best rock drummer of the year. Playboy's Reader's Poll.
I bet you Billy Cobham is on there.
#3. Okay, so #1, Buddy Rich. #2, Carl Palmer. #3, Billy Cobham. #4, Ringo Starr. #5, Ginger Baker. #6, Keith Moon. #7, Daniel Serafine. Don't know him. #8, Buddy Miles. #9, Charlie Watts. #10, Karen Carpenter. And #11, John Bonham. And it goes on.
Wait, sorry, Cheech. Who is? Joe. Who is #1?
Buddy Rich.
Oh yeah, I mean,
a jazz legend.
Yeah, you can't compete with him.
I really think Bonham should have been #2 or 3. I mean,
he should have been. Yeah, he should have been lowered, like higher. I guess.
Carl Palmer's a beast. I've seen him in concert. Oh my god.
Well, that's crazy. Wait. Did I hear that correctly? Karen Carpenter beat him.
She was 10.
Karen Carpenter was #10 and John Bonham was #11.
I wonder. That's what do you two think?
I think it's once again, these when Rolling Stone does the top 100 guitar players, sometime like Warren Haynes isn't even in it. You know what I mean? Like or
right.
Jack White will be in it before Jimmy Page. You know, like he'll be
Or
above
John Mayer.
John Mayer will be above Rich. Not knocking these people, you know, but so I think
Karen Carpenter was on television all the time back then
they had a TV
on
show.
American television. Huh?
Yeah, I I think
Yeah.
Bonham should have been in the top 5 at least. I mean, Billy Cobham, he's a beast.
Well,
Buddy,
well, you know, it's funny. I don't know who made this list up. I don't know if it was critics, but
Oh,
I don't.
Playboy Readers Poll.
Oh, wow.
Popularity contest. What did Ringo do in 1975?
it's
I mean,
all
really, it's a popularity contest. Everybody loves Ringo.
I was gonna say he wasn't doing much.
Charlie,
He's a great drummer.
Charlie Watts. I mean, Charlie Watts is a great drummer, but Bonham smokes him. I'm sorry, you know.
I'm not a music. I'm not a musicologist or like professional music, you know, theorist. But I think John Bonham, just for his talented drumming. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kara Carpenter for sure too, because she's for. And it's crazy because I don't even want to say it like this, but at that time, you guys know that rock was male dominated. So the fact that Karen Carpenter was like smoking, like even like, you know, a drummer from like
at that time, the only girl drummer might have been the girl in the Runaways. You know, there wasn't a girl drummer like there wasn't a lot of girl drummers at all at that time. So she was unique, and she sang and played drums, which is
and they're singing. I don't know which one's better, her drumming or singing.
Oh, her singing. She's one. You know, we talked Christmas album how much we love Karen Carpenter.
Love her Christmas album, yeah.
Cool. And so sad.
Don't forget, you know, Led Zeppelin wasn't written about very much in magazines or newspapers. There might be reviews of their shows.
Right.
It's not like nowadays, you know.
Right.
They were a mythical band. They were the people's band, Cheech. That sound familiar?
They were the people's band, Cheech. You know what's funny? Yeah. And the reason why I mentioned the critics, just because I used to, like, you know how it's funny reading Rush reviews and Rush critic reviews of Rush. So Led Zeppelin critically was panned by like a lot of, even in Rolling Stone.
Well, they butchered Jimmy a lot, saying he was sloppy, you know, stuff like that, or you know, they weren't tight. They had better shows. Like if they did like it was their 9th show in a row, it wasn't as good as the first show. You know, I mean, just stupid stuff. Look what they did to Rush, man. They butchered Rush, Rolling Stone. You know.
No, as an aside, like I remember when Bruce Springsteen released his Born to Run album, he got critically lauded, and for good reason. But Zeppelin, like I've seen a lot, obviously not all critics, but for the most part, they like rip apart Led Zeppelin's like, you know, songs and albums.
So sad, you know. The critics were always.
Yeah, they're definitely the people's band, Cheech.
Yeah. Lawsuit. I'm suing Led Zeppelin. His number. Anyway,
I got one other thing about In My Time of Dying. After Plant had his car accident in Greece, he really was reluctant to want to perform that song because he almost died. I mean,
no,
you know, it was serious. It was very serious. His wife was badly injured. His son was badly injured.
Yeah.
Amazingly enough, Jimmy Page's daughter was in the car with them and didn't get a scratch. Apparently, very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, but Robert Plant's wife fractured her skull. It was bad. It was really bad. So he thought that song might have like bad mojo. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, just from like a spiritual perspective, that song, I'm just gonna like quick 10-second religion thing, but it's haunting. It's because essentially what it's, I mean, if anyone's been, I mean, experienced dying or death, I mean, you definitely don't want to listen to that song because it's very haunting. And you said that Delta Blues sound. The Delta Blues sound is haunting. Like, I don't know if you guys listened to Delta Blues recently, but
Blind Willie Johnson was Texas blues. It wasn't Delta, and it was that gospel sound. But
no, but his version is more God. His version is more like not like happy or pleasant, but it's more sort of.
I've seen on YouTube choruses doing it in church. In My Time of Dying. It's a
No, but
thing.
it sounds more pleasant. No, but it sounds more pleasant,
Oh
like
yeah,
his version. But
yeah,
Led Zeppelin's version, I know musically it's amazing, but if you listen to it very carefully, it's haunting. And
yeah.
that Delta blues sound, the fact that they kind of like made it like Delta blues, which has always been haunting, it's just a spooky. No, like if you really listen to it, it's spooky,
Really
Did you ever
scary.
catch the very end of the song where there's a little cough?
dude.
Oh,
I
And Bonham says, you remember what Bonham says? He goes, "That's going to be the one, I take it."
and
So
doesn't
they and then Jimmy does a little silly guitar part, and they could have edited that out. I think they were trying to, after a very serious song, trying to lighten the mood because they could have
yeah,
easily taken that out.
yeah,
didn't they say,
yeah.
But I guess they had done a lot of takes of it, and Bonham was like, "I think that's the one." We got it.
didn't they cough? Plant when like cough. Doesn't Plant say cough?
Yeah, he goes like he goes like like that final like thunderous fart,
Yeah,
and he said, don't you make it my dying, 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 and then you hear Bottom cough. He's like cough.
and
It's
then
brilliant. I
you
always
know,
laugh.
Jimmy, there's an airplane. Nah, leave it, leave it, leave it. They do that on I forget what song. You
Dude,
know,
in their English voices, they're like, I think it's Bonham. Bonham's like, that's gonna be the one, isn't it? Come on, have a listen then.
so fun.
It's great.
Um, okay, so
Dude,
what
that's the
like
end of side one.
yeah.
Gee. Oh, are you gonna anything else?
Um, we ended side one. Wow, I was gonna say that like that magazine. I never read the articles.
G-rated.
Yeah. So you ended it. We ended. Wow, only 3 songs. You wanna?
Well, in my time of dying is 11 minutes. I
I
mean,
know.
it's an epic.
You want to try? You want to move? Want to try to get to Kashmir, or you want to send
Yeah.
another link?
Well, I
In
will
case
say,
I
so in terms of Mrs. Doubtfire, we're at 1 hour and 16, and I remember how we talked like your side of things start kind of at
why
like
don't
the
why
1 hour 30
don't you send
mark.
another link? Could you do that?
Remember, it doesn't work. It still
Uh,
freezes. I don't know what it is. I
all right.
really don't know what it is.
So we'll take it from Houses of the Holy, and if I start to freeze, then we'll just stop, and then we'll
Okay. And what do you want to aim for? One more side?
we could try. Sound good?
Okay, because let me know if this is right. Next up is Houses of the Holy, Trampled Underfoot, and Kashmir, which
Yeah.
also epic too.
Pretty knock on wood. I've been pretty good so far, without freezing
Okay.
up.
Okay. Let's move on to Houses of the Holy. And we're not talking about the album that we just talked about,
Well, it was
which will be
supposed to
released
be
next Monday.
on the album, and it didn't
Right.
make. And you
Well,
can
I'm shocked.
it doesn't fit the production. It doesn't fit the production of it. It's a different sound. I would also say it's
Wait,
one of
Cheech, you think so, Cheech? Wait, Cheech, you think so? Like,
yeah.
I thought it fits.
I don't know. Maybe it's my ears. After all these years, it's just Physical Graffiti has its own sound. Like I can't imagine that song on House.
Okay.
Maybe it could fit, but just my ears tell me no. Like
Okay.
I can't hear it with No Quarter, or I can't hear it with Dancing Days. It just kind of has a different and when I get to the music, he uses a noise gate on the guitar, and don't fact check me, but it's some kind of effect. Bow now, no, 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 bow now, no, no, no. It's a different sound, that he has. It's very clean. It's not a dirty sound, which Page, he gets clean sounds. This is a really clean sound. So we will keep this G-rated.
Yeah, this song is another very R-rated song.
Dark stuff in here too, which I didn't really see, but you had brought it up. But it might be like a repent type of song because of maybe somebody in the band was, into some dark stuff. House of the Holy was supposed to be on the album House of the Holy. It's about okay, how can I put this? Wanting to take a girl on a date to the movies in the G-rated version, So how am I gonna put this?
Wait, do you actually have like a detailed like analysis?
Yeah, it's about a dude who's trying
Give it
to.
G-rated.
He says, "Can I take you to a movie? Can I take you to a show?" But
That's so cute.
But there's
I really don't understand why Satan's mentioned in the song. Why can't it just be about taking a girl to a movie, taking her to the show?
Wait, Joe, you said like why Satan is mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was telling Cheech this. The song is sort of I don't know if Cheech you would agree with this or Joe. Like there's something. It's like surreal. Like it starts out kind of cute. Like yeah. Let me take you to the movies. Can I take you to the show? Let me be yours truly. And then can I make your garden grow? but then yeah. But there's something weird about it. It's like very bizarre. Like, I don't know, Cheech. You want to go, Joe?
What is it?
Can I read you a couple of lines?
Go. Let Joe read a couple of lines.
Are you dizzy when you're stoned? Let the music be your master. Will you heed the master's call? Oh, Satan and man. He loses me on the last line. Let the music be your master, I think is a cool line.
Let the music be your master. Heed your master's call. That's why I got 2 divorces.
In the second verse, from the second verse, he goes, "From the houses of the holy, we can watch the white doves go. From the door comes Satan's daughter, and it only goes to show that you know." I don't know why he has to have that reference in there to Satan.
Because
he does talk about an angel on his shoulder.
So Cheech, go first. What's your theory? Like, what do you think? What's up with the song?
Angels and demons, like dualism, a little bit. Like he, the singer is the Satan, and he takes the girl to the movie with intentions, and the girl's the angel. She's virtuous and that kind of thing, and he has a plan. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. You know, Jimmy could have avoided a lot of this conversation if he had just changed the title's name to something like Angel on My Shoulder or Take You to the Movies.
I think, was a part of the mystique of the dark side of Zeppelin. Not that, for Jimmy anyway, with the crowd. Having that in there. I don't think they use Satan in any other. I mean, Sabbath uses Satan all the time, but I don't think Zeppelin used Satan in any other lyric, to be honest. Right?
You're right. I can't think of any.
I can't think of any lyric.
No, I was going to say Satan. Well, Satan is included because I think Cheech, I think you're onto something where you guys know like the excesses of like rock, right, and a rock star will have to listen either to their good or bad angel, and most likely they listen to.
Yeah, most likely.
Because this song is dirty. This song is very dirty. Like I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but
this song.
Yeah, like if you look at it, like I just can't. I'm not gonna go too much detail, but it's pretty. Geez, right? Would you agree or disagree?
I agree because it's like the Satan character has a plan for this virtuous girl want to take her.
And who's the Satan character? It might be Plant himself, who knows, or Page, whoever wrote the song.
Protagonist, the person in the song, has a plan. Can I take you to a movie? Can I take you to a show? But it's more than that. He wants something else, I think.
Right.
So that's the main moral.
And you know what's funny? No, and I don't know if you would agree with this. Like the houses of the holy, like you would think it's religious. And you're right, Joe. Like it's a little misleading. Maybe Paige could have titled it something else. I don't know. But I'll be honest with you. I think how teenagers used to go to places like communion places where they would gather. Like that's the houses of the holy. Like I always saw, and this guy, again, it's not really religious per se. It's just that I think Cheech is right. There's a virtuous girl that he takes out on a date, and he's being tricky. Let me take you to the movies, and then stuff goes down. And without getting too much detail, one of the lines that is interesting is, "Said there ain't no use in crying." So after he does his way, because it will only drive you mad. Does it hurt to hear them lying? Was this the only world you had?
Yeah.
This dude did something. It's a weird song.
And it's also like a tribute to the youth, like you said, about young.
Yep.
The young people do the right thing. Listening,
Well, coming from two wise men here.
Lyrically, Robert Plant went way over my head on this one.
Yeah.
Because the only line I think we could laugh at when we were at the temple was, "Can I make your garden grow?"
Yeah, that's a funny line.
We're not going to discuss that one. But that's Peter Grant's T-shirt, right?
That can mean maybe he wants to be in a relationship, and the garden is the relationship. And he wants that.
I don't see anything inappropriate about the lyrics. Now, when we get to "Sick Again" at the end of the album, holy cow, it's cringeworthy now.
PGG.
So, and it's funny because I see the I don't want to say dirtiness of the lyrics, but it's just so full of double entendres and it's just like there's so much. It's just in my opinion, but in the song there's a lot of like weirdness. But but that's lyrically, but it's strange. It's really nothing to do with religion.
It's about dualism. It's about good and bad. I think, the guy wanting something from the innocence versus, darkness, to keep this G rated.
Right. And it's funny because musically it's very poppy. It's so catchy. Yeah. Like you wouldn't even think twice about the lyrics.
One of the greatest riffs, man.
The next song is the one that has the double meanings to it.
Yeah.
Trampled underfoot.
Yeah, well they get really, really double.
Yeah.
Well, this song has the classic
okay.
That classic intro. I mean that's a typical blues lick. It's A, C, C sharp, octave. Open A, to the C sharp, to the C, to the C sharp, to the A. So it's like a bluesy riff. Great chords. I love the chords in the verse because I've covered this song and they're just so cool. They're almost like the Who in a way, the way the chords are played. And it's hard to explain. You got to like play the song because the Who had this kind of chord sequence. Like it goes from a D to a G back to the D to an A. They're using like fourths, which is interesting. Great lyrics, as we talked about. Great melody. It's a very clean production. The production is...
Dude, it sounds very poppy. Like, it's so catchy.
And he has a noise gate effect. Or don't, butt check me on it, but he has an effect on there. It sounds like a gated effect. And a noise gate.
On the guitar?
Yeah. It's hard to explain what a gate means. It's like they put... it's almost like it's the opposite of reverb, It's kind of like compressed a little bit. Could be wrong, but if you listen to it, has a cool like guitar sound, different than.
I was gonna say the guitar sound is really cool because the way it begins, bow 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 bow, like it's just so catchy and great. And then, dude, Plant's vocals are so good on this song.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, they're so amazing, and he's not screaming like his usual Plant. Well, it's just he's singing so smooth.
He gets into "I'll take you to the movie."
Well, he builds up to that, but he builds up to that. He first starts smooth, but it's just great. His vocals.
Yeah,
this song could have been like a #1 smash.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's probably the Rover and this song are my two favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, I would say so. For myself too.
Just great songs.
And it's funny how he started. He's like, "Let me take you to the movie." Like, I always laugh at that line.
And
then he mentions Satan. I'm like, what?
I always underfoot would really be, huh?
No,
it would be so like welcomed at concert. People the crowd would explode when they went into Trampled Underfoot.
I could see that.
I never got it, to be honest with you. I didn't. And as far as like Plant's vocal, he does a really intense scream. while John Paul Jones is playing some keyboards.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's very memorable. Yeah, I mean, Plant was on top of his game.
Yeah.
And I lived by those lyrics for years. Let the music be your master. Heed the master's call. I was like, that was just when I heard that, I was like a young kid. I'm like, that's like my favorite lyric, but by Plant. I think that, it just that's insane. That's just a beautiful. When you're a musician, that's how you feel. So you want to get into Trampled Underfoot, which is
speaking about Trampled Underfoot.
Well, what I got from it, I got to keep it like. Is there anything underneath G? PhD.
Give it G. Yeah, give it G rated. I think it's another like Custard Pie song.
It totally. All right. Let's just say
it drips. Dude, it drips.
It's about a car. Just say it's about a car. It's inspired by Robert Johnson's Terraplane Blues, which a terraplane is a classic car. Johnson uses car parts as a metaphor. Let me pump your gas. Rev all night. When you're driving your car, of course. Led Zeppelin uses it as temptation. There's something that's giving you temptation to drive this car, and Led Zeppelin says, "Bring up your transmission, help your oil flow." It's one of the lyrics. So basically, it's about wanting to drive.
So the song's about a car.
Yeah, and it's not Red Barchetta.
So it's not about going in his uncle's shed and finding a car.
Well, maybe you could go in his uncle's shed. Oh, for a different reason.
You unearth those magazines.
Yeah, right. So do you feel that way, Joe? Keeping it G-rated? That this song is about a car, pumping gas and that kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could leave it.
It's funny, I'm laughing at myself because I thought you made a reference to Trampled Underfoot earlier, and that's when I was saying that it was very popular as a live version. I actually jumped ahead a song. So
that's why I said, speaking of Trampled Underfoot.
With Plant, he wails on this song.
Oh yeah.
I guess I must have been excited. I wanted to move on to Trampled Underfoot.
Yeah. No, and that's why I said, speaking of Trampled Underfoot. I don't know if Cheech got it, but yeah. So I think in Cheech, I think a great job on like pretty much like keeping a G rated. You did a fantastic job. And it's song lyrically is simple. Like it's not complicated. I think where it's complicated and amazing is musically.
They use the word heavy metal in this. Heavy metal.
That's right.
In there.
Yep. Dig that heavy metal. But look at this. Dig that heavy metal underneath your hood. Yes.
Using a car as a metaphor. So, what could you say? Well, musically, once again,
the song is so good musically.
Funky clavinet, Stevie Wonder, Superstitious. John Paul Jones was listening to Stevie Wonder. There's no doubt in my mind.
And just to make sure, it was the song Superstition. That was the influential song. I hear Superstition.
On that, it uses it on Higher Ground. That song, like. So it's Stevie really, he rocked out on that. So that was the funk sound of the 70s, the clavinet. Larry Graham used it in Graham Central Station. Powerful drums, great guitar licks.
Yeah.
The keyboards are amazing. Those keyboard breaks. Down. Unbelievable. I put great lyrics, but they're funny now, but they are. It's a great, so
Plant really delivers them though.
Oh, he sings.
The way he delivers them. I mean, the lyrics are kind of a little like, but Plant really sells them. Like
But
that's what Plant does. Like he's so good at that.
I never would have thought this if I didn't analyze it. If I didn't analyze the song, I
Me
would have
either.
I would have had no clue what it was about. You know, just a great
Yeah.
great depth.
And fun fact, this was one of the first Led Zeppelin songs I discovered in high school, and I loved it. I didn't even know it was part of this double album.
Yeah, amazing.
I didn't even know what it was about. I didn't know it was about a car.
A red car, red barchetta.
red barchetta.
So,
dude, it kind of has the same sound. Dude, it kind of has the same sound. Red barchetta too. Down and down.
Yeah. Well, Zeppelin.
But I don't know how you two feel, but I love this song.
Rush were huge Zeppelin fans. You know, obviously the first album, but like Alex Lifeson. There's some really cool stories I read where when Pierre passed away, I think Zeppelin reached out to them. Robert Plant and Jimmy Page reached out to Geddy and Alex, you know, for the condolences and everything, and was like, you know, it's rough because they both went through that, losing drummer and best friend and everything. You know, I mean, Bonham died super young. Neil died a little bit older, but you know, so it's the same kind of thing. I read that
both legendary drummers.
Yeah. And the funny thing, I'm gonna kind of lead up to, you know, the next song, Kashmir, really isn't about Kashmir, but a funny story is it's about Morocco, actually. This song, Kashmir, which is you know, interesting. Geddy Lee.
And I have my own theory on that song.
Geddy Lee was getting out of his hotel room in Morocco, and he saw Plant getting out of his hotel room, and they were like, "Oh my God!" and they like hung out. It's a funny story Geddy Lee says. You know, what are the odds of that happening? You know, and that's the first time I think Geddy Lee ever met Robert Plant was in Morocco. But
wow, and you know what's funny, dude? I don't know if you would agree with this or Rob, but the early Rush, dude, they sound like Zeppelin.
Oh yeah,
especially that debut record, dude.
Zeppelin.
It's Zeppelin. I mean, you could tell their influence is crazy.
In Cleveland, that station, they thought it was the new Zeppelin. They said, "When did the new Zeppelin come out?" People were calling, you know, and I mean, Geddy's voice is just so high. 19-year-old Geddy on that album singing the register.
He sounds like a high version, dude. He sounds like a Plant, but like just higher.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But getting into Kashmir, it's not about Kashmir, which is crazy. You know,
place in India.
Yeah, Kashmir. And I was talking to what's his name, Osmond, about this when I was secretly writing this episode.
Wait, what does he know about Kashmir? I'm kidding.
So I was texting you. It was a slow day at the temple, and I started to write this episode on my phone, you know, with the phone down and stuff. And I got Kashmir, and I'm like, Osmond, come here for a second. What do you know about Kashmir? I was just curious about Kashmir. Oh, Kashmir. He's going on, and he's giving me all this stuff. And it's like, why do you want to know about Kashmir? And I was just like, oh, no, it's, you know, for the podcast. So Plant is driving through Kashmir. I'm sorry. The name of the song was supposed to be Driving to Kashmir. I don't know if you knew that, Joe.
Mm.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay. I should have asked.
Know that one.
I should have asked you that, darn it. So Plant
Cheech, that was a missed opportunity, Cheech.
I know. I'm just getting tired. Plant was driving in southern Morocco in 1973, and it felt like a long and never-ending drive into the wasteland. And basically, the song, I think, is about a long road, life being a journey. You know, about like the journey of life, and finding yourself in it. He drove the long road, and he felt like it would never end, like life. You know, it's just my take on it.
Mm.
And then the first thing he wrote, Joe, you know the first lyrics that he wrote while he was driving?
I don't know the lyrics. I just know that Jimmy and Bonham worked in the studio and had it pretty much set. They were so excited about it, they couldn't wait to get Plant involved with it.
Yeah.
And that was the one I was telling you. John Paul Jones was late to the session, so he didn't get a songwriting credit.
Yeah. Oh, let the sun beat upon my face. He wrote that in Morocco. You know, but he never went to Kashmir. You know, and yeah, that's interesting about John Paul Jones. You know, I think John Paul Jones was gonna leave. He actually took a break. He was sick at that point, and he wanted to leave Zeppelin. For also for their out something happened in 1973 that he wasn't happy with outside of the music. We'll keep it G. Richard Cole was up to no good with a couple members of the band, and you know, and he was like, I can't deal with this anymore. So, being a family man. Yeah. But any other? Give me your take, Manny, on the lyrics.
So I think you got that's again, Cheech, once again, like really great job on sort of providing the backstory of the song and like the possible title they would have titled it. But you know, it's funny that this song, it doesn't sound like a Led Zeppelin song, and it's one of the first times where they, actually one of a few times that they embrace the Eastern sound. Like they've done it a few times before, but this time I'm telling you, they could have recorded an album following this style, like because and then in the next song, we'll probably do next part, In the Light follows this tradition as well. So I always saw the song, and this is where Plant is so brilliant. It's a mystical song. So it's sort of like, if you look at the lyrics very carefully now, again, Plant wrote it, like you said, endless journey, endless road, but he's describing some sort of like mystical experience. Like, you know, have you ever read anything from Eastern spirituality? Well, this is not far from it. Like what he's describing, and in
the book I never could pronounce, the Bhagavad
Gita.
Yeah,
the Bhagavad Gita.
Right out of that, it's a page out of that.
And we mentioned those gurus also on like the Bob Dylan album cover and some of that spirituality, but this song is like John Lennon's Across the Universe.
The Beatles started it with the Indian stuff, you know, in India, and then it led to Bob Dylan, and then these people, the gurus. I said their names last night. I forgot in the Dylan episode, but they came over to Woodstock and they performed. So Southern Indian music was huge in the hippie culture, you know, and a lot of people were like Ravi Shankar and stuff like that, you know, and then these other guru guys that were doing traditional Indian music. It's funny how it came into the hippie culture. The dissonant sound. You know, we're using major scales, dominant scales. They're using quarter tones.
Well, it's crazy because and you're right, the first guy to do that was George Harrison of the Beatles, which again, but it's crazy how 10 years later of that influence, Zeppelin creates one of the best Eastern driven tunes in rock. I don't think it's so unmatched. And again, this song lyrically is mystical. Like I know Plant said it's an endless journey song, but they're taking you on a mystical journey. Yeah. And it's not helped with those John Paul Jones orchestrations, which is like it's like such an otherworldly song.
Yeah. You want me to get into the music, or Joe, you have anything else about Kashmir lyrically or the meaning?
It's just that Plant is very proud of this song.
Yeah.
He thinks it is Zeppelin at their peak. And that is probably just one of the two songs that'll be listened to 100 years from now.
Did you tell me they wanted the Bombay Orchestra to record on this? Did I hear that from you?
They did some recording before Zeppelin 3, I think. They went to Bombay.
Oh, okay.
When it was Page and Plant, I have to look at the old unleaded album when they went. I don't know where they went, if they went to Morocco or if they actually went to Kashmir. Because they came up with a couple of songs that were Middle Eastern, and they did they were filmed performing music with the local musicians
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle of this desert.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some great stuff. And I know other musicians got into that, like John McLaughlin got into the Indian sound in their music.
Mhm.
I know Jack Bruce was really into that at one point, as an influence. Musically, I mean, it's a masterpiece. What could you say about it? Jimmy's using Arabian,
Hypnotic.
huh?
Hypnotic.
Yeah, you
It's a
definitely.
hypnotic.
Hypnotic,
Jimmy's
progressive.
he's using Arab and Middle Eastern scales or modes. So he's taking like a C major and flatten. You would flatten the second and the third, in the fourth, in the sixth. So you have like these Phrygian, Locrian modes, haunting guitar, and then the string section is amazing. So just to give you an idea of how cool the chord is, so he uses a root, and then he goes to the flat nine, to the nine, and then to the sharp nine. So it's like going like, man, like when you play a power chord like C, then you go to C
Yeah.
sharp, then you go to D, then you go to D sharp, while holding down C. So you get that dissonance, that tension that builds up in it. And this is Jimmy used an Echoplex tape delay, and a sound phaser. Oh, I'm sorry, an Echoplex tape delay to get that sound. There's also a phaser effect, which is on the drums. John Paul Jones is using a mellotron. Now, a mellotron is an early sampler. So he used the keyboard. It's like those magnets, and it's like a magnetic tape. So it has different sounds. It's like a pre-programmed keyboard, which was not really a thing at that time. It was just like a new invention. You had organs that had different sounds, but this was like a really cool, different sound, the mellotron, and that's a huge sound on there. It's just a huge, massive production. The vocals are amazing, Middle Eastern vibe, great keyboards, great drums. Just powerful, just a powerful song. So that wraps up side 1 and 2, and then.
Well, before we wrap on Kashmir, I think you two know this. This is considered one of the greatest songs of all time, and it's always top list. If it's not Stairway to Heaven, it's this one. And wow. Let me ask you two: what do you think is better, Kashmir or Stairway to Heaven?
Kashmir.
Kashmir. I know Joe's gonna say that.
Yeah, you got it. I'd go with Kashmir, but Stairway, they're both mystical. They both have that mystical vibe.
And by the way, but I argue in different ways.
Oh yeah. One's about enlightenment and that philosophy, and then Stairway's more of like a search. You're searching for meaning within yourself in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, this album is just like it's amazing, man. It's crazy.
And that completes side 2, right? Like that's side 2, and then you would have to get the next.
Yeah, you'd have to get the next album. Well, we did.
Wait, Cheech, what do you think? Is this a good place to pause?
I mean, we could try it. We could if you want to do like just a little.
Well, we're already 1 hour and 48.
Yeah,
we're already 1 hour and 48, and you're
stop at 2 hours, like another 10 minutes. We don't have to do another song if you just want to talk a little bit about, other.
Let's do that. Let's take a breather, right? Because we've been kind of like
so like
already been taken on a journey.
Yeah, this was a journey. Really. Custard Pie, The Rover, In My Time of Dying, Houses of the Holy, Trampled Underfoot, Kashmir. That's awesome. Love that. And and then we got to do In the Light, Bron-Yr-Aur, Bron-Yr-Aur, Down by the Seaside, Gone,
Bron-Y-Aur.
Night Flight, Wanton Song, Boogie with Stu, Black Country Woman, Sick Again. So we have more work, a lot of work on the next episode, So yeah, cool. This is and for me, just breaking down the the lyrics is like, oh my god, I didn't know some of these Custard Pie and some of the crazy lyrics, Houses of the Holy. Funny. What's going on through like Plant's head when he was
I learned
writing.
a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, did Jimmy Page ever write any lyrics? Anybody else write any lyrics for the band, I wonder?
I thought he wrote lyrics for the first album.
Jimmy Page?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, yeah, he did. Your Time Is Gonna Come, I think. Yeah. Interesting.
But you have to remember, Plant got no songwriting credit on the first album because he was under contract to CBS Records.
Wow. I always wondered about that.
I don't know how they worked that out, but
did they want to sign him as a solo artist? Was that the idea?
Yeah. Robert Plant signed a contract in 1966, believe it or not.
God, he was young. He must have been like a teen. He must have been like 16, 17 years old. And this is after the band The Joy?
18.
Wow.
Probably during.
And he signed it with Atlantic? Or you said CBS?
I think it was CBS, and I think he did some studio sessions, and it's been released. It's oddly enough, it's one of the CDs of Robert Plant's solo career I don't have.
What does it?
Gosh, I forget what he called it.
What does it sound like? Is it on YouTube?
Oh, I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Robert, wow.
Yeah, it definitely would be on YouTube.
Yeah. Imagine if you went solo.
Well, it's funny.
And he said,
well, it's funny with Page. I mean, yeah, I know he had some songwriting credits on Led Zeppelin 1, but I think at this point, I think it's like if it's not Plant, it's collaboration between the whole band. Like it's not, if they're not covering tunes, from the archives, like, In My Time of Dying. But it's interesting because this album is, how we've been talking about, like, Led Zeppelin lyrics I find them interesting. I think this so far, I think Joe's right. This is the peak of Led Zeppelin's like writing, like prowess, ability. They're so influential because, Bad Company will pretty much follow their lead. And they pretty much start, I think, dude, they're like the sound of 1970s hard rock.
Bad Company, yeah.
Their style.
On the next episode, I go into Swan Song and I bring up a lot of bands on Swan Song that people should listen to. There's a lot of good bands that they signed, And I know Joe.
Wait, what other bands did they sign, Joe? Cheech or Joe?
Well, Joe's
favorite. Could you repeat that?
What other bands?
I was butt checking myself.
Joe, Cheech, Joe is checking the primary sources.
Well, yeah. Well, I was trying to. It was driving me crazy. The Robert Plant 1966 solo stuff. It was released on something called 66 to Timbuktu in 2003, and it covers his entire career. But there are some tunes they put on there from 1966.
Wow.
But obviously, they could not have been all that great, or we would know about them.
Yeah.
Right.
He was a kid. He was a kid.
He was learning the business.
Yeah.
He was a kid.
And he probably didn't have, the songwriting there. The songs.
Oh, I think you didn't get into like Led Zeppelin 2, if anything, maybe.
Yeah.
According to the documentary.
Yeah. What's on YouTube probably is a song "You'd Better Run," a cover of the Young Rascals song.
That's pretty cool.
I bet that would be on there.
Interesting.
And Plant was in a band called Listen at that time, which I had never known. I never heard of that before. Of course, I'm going from Wikipedia, so that might be questionable.
And so we might have to. Someone will fact check. We could be.
Somebody has to fact check that. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, for the most part, Wikipedia is pretty useful.
Wikipedia is
but not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Well, it's updated often by people who care. I think.
Yeah. You update it. How do you just go in and you can add stuff to Wikipedia?
Yeah, it's like it's public. You just have to have an account, and then you can edit it.
You could what if you put in like a really bad lie, like Cheech played bass for Led Zeppelin?
No, because they have fact checkers.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about that, but they have fact checkers. So you would be the fact checker.
You put yourself in there, like I played the bass on Nobody's Fault But Mine.
It's like, imagine if someone put like Pottersfield BX is not the People's Band, and like you would fact check that. We are the People's Band.
But back to the Swan Song, Joe. Who's your favorite besides Bad Company? Who's your favorite band on? And I know Joe favorite band on Swan Song because he had the album.
My favorite band on Swan Song after Led Zeppelin and Bad Company.
Yeah,
you're gonna laugh. It's a band called Detective.
Yep, I knew it. Yeah,
Michael DeBar.
Yep.
Yeah, I bought the album when it came out, and Jimmy Page produced it. Yeah.
Yep. And Jimmy Page
had some catchy songs on it.
Yeah, it was more poppy.
Together long.
Yeah, it was It was poppy, right?
Radio friendly.
Yeah, yeah. And Page thought it was going to do really good. It's funny. A lot of these, and I'm going to talk about. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to talk about Swan Song. But a lot besides Bad Company is the only band that did something on that label. Obviously, Zeppelin.
I was going to say because they have was Straight Shooter on Swan Song.
Yeah. Everything Bad Company ever did was on Swan Song.
That album was massive.
You gotta think about like Running with the Pack. When you think about Bad Company, they're the combination of two great bands. Free. Three great bands. Free, which is Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke. Mott the Hoople is Mick Ralphs. Have you ever heard Mott the Hoople, the guitar player? Mm-hmm. And Boz Burrell was in King Crimson. So it was a super group.
So it's like so Bad Company is a super group.
It's kind of like put together in the studio. I think Peter Grant maybe was the genius behind that, because Free had broken up because Paul Kossoff, like I think he had passed away. He might have died. No. Mm-hmm. No. He died later on, but he was out of his mind on drugs and stuff, and they broke up. So they needed to do something. Mm. And they formed, Bad Company is no joke. Oh, my God. And they're up for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'll be honest with you, the debut record, dude, if they just released a debut record alone, but the fact that they followed it up with Straight Shooter, it's like, dude, they were one of the ones that made the 70s sound. And they're not talked about. Them and Foreigner. I argue them and Foreigner and Zeppelin, but.
Yeah. Yeah. And Paul Rodgers was so different than Plant. He had such a
great... Boston. And Boston that we talked about.
Boston is... Forget about it. Boston was only 2 albums. You wonder, like, they had that corporate sound already in 1976. And the corporate rock really didn't develop until 1978.
But they invented it.
Pretty much, they did.
They invented it. It was Schultz. Dude, it was Schultz's basement. Like, dude.
Yeah, Boston invented it, but I almost don't consider them corporate rock because they're different than Journey. They're different than REO Speedwagon. They're different than Styx. I wonder what Boston would have sounded like if they did a third album in 1980, not 1986, not 10 years later. After Don't Look Back.
Right.
And we won't talk about poor Brad Delp. We won't go there. I don't know if you've ever, Joe.
Just know that his poor Marianne.
I don't know if you've read any about Brad Delp or seen any documentaries. Just don't watch them. Why the man ended his life. I thought he was just a depressed guy, but it's really crazy, and I don't like to even think about it. Maybe off screen we could talk about it.
Cheech, your audio is starting to drop.
Yeah, I think we're at the 2 hour mark. But yeah,
Yeah, you're starting to freeze up a little bit on me on my end.
Yeah, Joe. I was telling him at this point you start really. It just can't. Your phone cannot handle the RAM and the
that's why I said
broad. I think broadband. I think it's called.
so. We figured we'll just stop at 2 hours, so at least we got full 2 hours in on this episode, which is nuts. It's going to be a 4-hour episode.
We did.
So thank you, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. So next week we're good. It's gonna be another 2 hours next week.
Okay.
Tackle the second part of the album. This was a lot of fun, guys, and a lot. We learned a lot.
Very good.
A lot of good stuff on this album. So, and then start, well, I'm freezing up now. I'm gonna say start listening to Desire by Bob Dylan. So we'll definitely have you on. I'm on such a Dylan kick right now.
Do your research, yeah.
But all right, since I gotta go because it's gonna freeze up. But great episode, guys. Thank you.
I guess yeah. No, thank you, dude. I love it. Love it.
Amazing.
I gotta get my band shirts too. You too, Cheech. Like, get your band shirts.
Yeah.
But thank you, Joe, for being on the show. This part 2 of this gargantuan double album episode, and we'll start side 3 pretty soon. We'll put it on.
Definitely.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You two enjoy your custard pies, and I got to try one.
And my favorite, because I read the articles. I actually have one. Right, I won't show it, but it's on my desk right there. The old school.
Custard pies.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks again, Joe.
All right, guys. Till the next one.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Later. All right. So we're going to continue with physical graffiti, but just take a little detour because we're doing the second part of it. And I'll just do this is the Cheech and Manny music podcast. And our special guest, Mr. Joe Silkman with the Led Zeppelin shrine back there. He's the aficionado, right, of Led Zeppelin. Is that the word, Manny?
Yeah. Aficionado, fan, enthusiast.
So I have before we go on, I just want to bring up something that I just wanted people's opinions. I wanted our fans' opinions. I wanted you guys' opinions about it's basically about bands that are currently broken up, legends that get back together with new members, especially a singer or a guitar player. And is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I'm not saying what it is. I have my opinions about it. Me and Joe talked about. Joe actually learned something today from one of the legacy bands. There's legacy bands like Skynyrd and Jason Bonham that they get a break because it's family. But and the only reason why I'm bringing this up is Post Malone, who I don't know much about, but I know he's pretty talented and he's played with Ozzy, is doing something, or he did something with Nirvana, and they were saying that they were going to tour with that maybe. And I'm thinking okay, is that a good thing? Or I'm not saying my opinion. Is that a good thing for the young kids or a bad thing? Just like Pantera, they're out there with Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benante. Motley Crue has a new guitar player. Queensrÿche has a new singer. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think it should just stay a legacy or should it be, unless you're lucky, and I'm going to name 4 bands that were lucky. Obviously, Jason Bonham is doing a legacy thing. Skynyrd is a legacy thing because of Donnie. What do we say? What do we say, Joe? Ronnie, Donnie, and
Ronnie, Donnie, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny. Johnny is the singer of Skynyrd. Donnie was in 38 Special, and Ronnie, of course, who Ronnie Van Zant is. So they're the legacy bands. Then there are bands like AC/DC who were lucky. Bon Scott died. Brian Johnson took them to the next level. Black Sabbath, Ozzy got fired, they got Dio, they went to another level. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Your opinion, just and please post comments on this. What do you think? That should bands move away from that and just say, like, thank God Zeppelin never got another drummer, because it wouldn't have been the same. Like, some bands just got to stay where they are as a legend. So just throwing that at you, just to, like, a warm up. What do you think, Manny?
So, and I think, yeah, I love how you didn't share your opinion, which I think, we want to hear from our fans and people watching, even like anybody. What do you guys think if a legacy band should, like, if they reunite, should they replace, certain key members? And by the way, just so you both know, like, recently, I think Linkin Park decided to tour again, and obviously with what happened to, R.I.P. Chester Bennington, they got a girl singer, I don't know her name, to tour with, and I forgot her name, and I heard she's not that bad, but I think, I don't know, I guess it's up to the band if they want to. Obviously they want to make money, right? And they want to capitalize on, like, the old fans, but make new fans as well, right? Because it makes sense. You want to go out there.
Or is it a money thing? That's
why I mentioned it, because I'm not trying to be. I'm not a musician. I don't make my living making music, so I feel for them. But the problem is, I think I find it kind of disrespectful to for example, to Chester Bennington. I think and Nirvana. I mean, Kurt Cobain, no offense, was Nirvana. So I don't think that's no disrespect to Dave Grohl or Chris Novoselic, but Nirvana was,
Well, I don't know if the Post Malone thing is going to be a thing.
So Cheech, I quickly did some research. Apparently, they're going to do a covers album. So it wouldn't be far fetched if Post Malone is successful, he'll go out to maybe tour or something. But I don't think Dave Grohl would do that.
It's a touchy thing. Like Pantera, they did it. They're successful. I guess it's a good thing with Pantera,
right?
You got Zakk Wylde, Charlie Benante.
Well, Cheech, you have when the Who, after Keith Moon died, remember the who they got as a drummer?
Yeah, Kenny Jones.
It was a complete failure.
Well, me and Joe were talking about that. See, I kind of disagree with that. You know why?
Why?
Because it's hard. And what was it called? Face
Dances.
And they were in the. And for the record, I don't like that album. I can't listen to it. It's too corny.
It was in the heart of MTV, so they got that MTV kind of like what Yes did, and and those other bands from that era. The Eminence Front is a great song. So
but that's the only great song on that album. That's another album I can't listen to.
I loved It's Hard. I thought that was a good album. Okay. But yeah, he's not Keith Moon. But Zach Starkey took it to another level, like 20 years later. So it could work. It could work for some bands,
right?
And then Joe brought a good point up with Ian Aston. I'm gonna say it's wrong. Ian Astbury, not Asbury.
Yeah. Remember Cheech, PG?
Yeah, Ian Ashbury. Is that his name, Joe?
Yes, Ian Astbury of the Cult.
He joined the Doors, and they went out as the Doors, and he pulled it off really, really well.
Right.
And that's a legend. That's Jim Morrison. Imagine being that guy. Like, but you can't. They should have called it a tribute. Like, I'd be a hypocrite to knock this stuff, because the best show I ever saw was Thin Lizzy with John Sykes.
And they did the same with Queen for when they got Paul Rogers, and Journey when they got that Filipino singer. I forgot his name, but I don't know. Dude. I feel like sometimes though it can be sort of, I don't know. But then again, they're trying to make money. So is it a question of them trying to make money, capitalize on old fans, of course, new fans? I think it's that. I don't know if you two would agree. If they had integrity, though, they wouldn't do it. Like if they had artistic integrity, they would keep the legacy as the legacy.
But then on the other hand, if that's all if you're a musician that can't play with anybody else, then you got to go with it. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Or I don't know, like say certain musicians like they can't play with any other players and it doesn't work, and they're like, oh, this is my bread and butter. I've tried solo stuff, it's not working. Why don't I do a big reunion with my old band?
So it's about money,
you know. But I don't know my opinion on it. I'm kind of in the middle, you know. I mean, I like what Pantera is doing. Jason Bonham and Skinner are completely different. AC/DC was successful. Black Sabbath. But if it's years and years later, there's a legacy that's been established. Now you're like opening up a can of worms, and you're like rewriting history a little bit, like, you know.
I think it's about money at the end of the day, because
that's what I
Post Malone is, no offense, Nirvana, they're huge, but I'll be honest with you, the young kids are not listening to Nirvana. Post Malone is the biggest thing right now, so it would make sense that he would join a covers Nirvana album, him being one of the key singers. So maybe it's not such a bad thing, I guess, because it's bringing this music to the young crowd. Sort of similar how Timothy Chalamet portrayed Bob Dylan in The Complete Unknown, right? And kind of covered his music in a way. I mean, obviously, Timothy Chalamet, you guys know, is popular with, you know, anybody that's young, because he's one of the, you know, hottest actors right now in terms of his roles he's taken, like Dune, and among others. But I don't know. It's an interesting question, Cheech. I'm kind of more optimistic. If it's for the money, you're right. If an artist really can't make it on their own, but decides to join either a legacy tour, tribute tour, or you know how sometimes Ringo Starr does his all-star band. He gets like,
well, that's like tribute. That's like a tribute thing.
Right.
That's kind of cool. I mean that's not. He's not going out saying we're the new Beatles.
Right. But he plays. You know, but I think he plays Beatles songs.
Right? He does.
And he has other singers sing, and you know.
Yeah. So it's like a fun kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd throw that out there, and please comment on it, and let us know what you think. What your opinion is. We'd like to know. I'm like I said, I'm in the middle. How are you on that, Joe? You think it's a good thing, a bad thing, or no opinion?
No quarter.
What's interesting is what you guys have touched on is what Robert Plant has been talking about for a long time since Zeppelin disbanded. Do you go with a legacy and be a human jukebox? He didn't want to do that.
Right.
He actually told Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones he'd be interested in a project with them going back to 2007 if they could work on new music. And it seemed like Jimmy wanted to play a lot of Led Zeppelin material.
Yeah.
And was less interested in new material. And that's what Plant kept saying no. So Plant obviously wants that legacy, and he wants to do new music, and that's what he's been doing since, especially since 2007 with Alvin Krauss. And he's got this fantastic band, the Sensational Space Shifters, which was just incredible seeing them in concert. He surrounds himself with great musicians, and he's doing original material. And they say, oh, he does a lot of covers too, but he reworks them so much that he makes it his own. And he just loves what he's doing. So I can't complain about Robert Plant not getting Zeppelin together.
Right.
But, sometimes it works. I think the Queen thing worked. The Doors thing worked.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm trying to think of other bands like and for instance, like Foreigner is pretty much a cover band doing it. I think Getty came out with a statement saying Rush is done. Like they're not, they're just going to be a memory, and it should be at this point. One farewell tribute concert would have been nice, but it's nice to just end it. That kind of thing. So so just leave your comments on it. How you feel. You think should the band stay broken up in the past and leave the legend untouched, or should they get a new guitar player, singer, and go out and just share their music with the young? I guess it's good for the young kids, but are they really getting the true music?
It's funny, Cheech, Post Malone, I mean, this is so random, but Post Malone did a cover of Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish and took the song to top 5.
Wow.
And I turned on the original, and my little sister, who this song everyone knows, his cover, she was like, "Oh, wait, is that the Post Malone song?" And I was like, "No, that's the original one by Hootie and the Blowfish."
Wow. That's a good song. You know, it's a good choice of song. I don't know much about him. I just know he's kind of all over the place in different genres, which is cool.
He started out with the hip hop genre that we talked about with Devontae, trap music.
But Devontae doesn't like him. I know.
No, probably not. It's funny, he made a transition from trap rap, and then now he considers himself sort of like I guess a rocker in a way. It's kind of weird.
You know, Kid Rock did the same thing.
Yeah, very similar to Kid Rock. Very similar.
I love Kid Rock. Kid Rock, you know, and Kid Rock got into country and all that. And Kid Rock was a rapper in the beginning. He was like a total rapper, and then he got into being a rock funk guy. Kid Rock was just amazing, you know. So anyway, that's I think this is my my opinion on that. You know, like if Maiden quit after Paul Diano, they wouldn't have been Maiden.
No, see, that's the point, because those two albums were so good. Imagine if they were like, you know what, we're gonna hang up Iron Maiden, keep it at the Paul Diano legacy.
Yeah.
You know? I'll be honest with you, dude, Killers alone, I mean, they could have retired with just doing Killers, but instead they found Bruce Dickinson and just took Iron Maiden and AC/DC. There are success stories. I love what you said about that.
Yeah, their success story. Sabbath is a success story. Bonham is a tribute.
Yeah.
Skinner is a legacy. Bonham's a legacy.
Yeah.
Bands like Motley Crue kicking out Mick Mars. You know, I love Mick Mars. I don't see the new guitar player. He's good.
But you know what's sad about Mick Mars? I think he's sick. Like, I think he can't even play guitar anymore. I think. Whatever. I think I could be wrong, but
it ended pretty bad. It ended like they sued each other. They wanted a chunk of his royalty. I don't know. And then Queensryche, it's sad with them because they all hate each other. And Jeff Tate has a solo band. Is Jeff Tate. Queensryche has another great singer, but I don't think I'd go and see Queensryche without Jeff Tate personally. You know, just my opinion. But Skid Row is another singer. I mean, without Sebastian Bach, he's a Skid Row. No, just my opinion on that. You know, so just let us know in the comments. You know,
hey, Cheech, I'm still waiting for the Seance reunion. I feel cheated. Never got to see Seance.
Yeah, me either.
I'm like John Paul Jones. I'm waiting for the phone call. I would probably do it at this point. Although it almost happened. The band after Seance got back together. What were we called? I forgot what we were. I can't even remember what we were called. God, but we jammed a couple times about 2 years ago, and we were gonna go and have a band. God, why can't I remember the name of this band? It's gonna drive me crazy. It's got to be on one of these flyers. I don't even know, but how many bands I've been in. But then I got a phone call from Bobby, and I said, "Sorry guys, I'm taking this other gig." So the guitar player was in Seance, so he might be mad at me. So I don't know if he's gonna ever call me about jamming, because I kind of chose Potter's Field. So there might never be a Seance reunion. So
just do 2 shows at Garcia's and record it, and your legacy is assured.
Yeah, unless they get a new bass player. Now that would be not the real Seance. That would be like what we're talking about. You know what I mean?
You know, a lot of times these bands don't get together because of egos and or they feel like it's going back to high school. They don't want to go back to high school. When Cream got together for those 6 shows, by the end of the 4th show, Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker were back at their throats. They wanted to kill each other. They barely made it through 6 shows.
It's crazy because the last band that I was in, who Joe knows, I'm not going to say their name. We were a great band. They're all good guys and everything. But I used to beg them to want to do covers. and they never wanted to do covers. And now they have a new bass player, and they're a cover band. And it's just funny how people change. How the world works out. So anyway, let's get into the band.
Physical Graffiti Side 3.
And I got this. Joe's gonna laugh because he gave me this.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
No, leave it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You know what's really funny is I think that picture was taken the same night the firm played in New York City, and then afterwards, he and the band went to the Lone Star Cafe and he jammed with Jocko.
I think because he had the same weight. Yeah, he has the same shirt on, and
yeah, they jammed. It wasn't pretty, but
because he has a white jacket. He has a white jacket on, but underneath it, he has some kind of weird, like Hawaiian shirt or something, like a blue kind of weird shirt. Yeah, I heard some of that stuff. Jimmy Page and Jocko. Oh my God! Just the idea of that is crazy. Two legends. So okay, In the Light is where we left off.
Okay.
We're on side opening. This is the opening to side 2, I believe.
And just before you start, Joe, I remember you saying that you worn down like side 1. I'll be honest with you, dude. The first half of the album is so great that I'm not trying to say like this side is like weaker than that half or whatever, but I could tell that the first half is so strong. Like I cannot stop listening to Houses of the Holy, Kashmir, Trampled on the Foot, the Rover, Custard, and then we ended on the Custard Pie last episode, but it's so strong. It's insane.
It took me a while to go to the second side.
Right.
That was always on the first side. And I didn't get into the second side till a little bit later because, I was just, so for the first side is so strong. It's a good point. It's a great point.
The second LP is just so diverse. It covers so many different styles of music, and it really grew on me. So I've got my favorites on there for sure. It's really good.
Cool.
And a lot of the songs are considered underrated, but, they're like diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manny, might open up a can of worms, and I'm going to slow down on this one. In the Light. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this word, but Plant was reading EPHESIANS.
What you said? EPHS?
EPHESIUNS. Ephesus.
Wait, this is based on Ephesians?
Yes. 51:21.
Wait, what? I never even would have guessed.
Just taking ideas from that particular. That's the Bible, obviously. That's the.
Wait, Cheech, is it 5? Chapter 5, verses 15 to 21.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
never would have guessed that.
Does it talk? Would it be about the light and that kind of thing?
Right.
So when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible.
Right.
Anything that's visible is the light. Exposing sins for what it is. The G show. So, the bad stuff that people were doing. Immortality. He talks about the law. The true purpose of the law is to drive you to the side of Jesus. It's about forgiveness.
Man, that song is like next level.
About sin, being exposed to the light. The light is goodness and God, doing the right thing. You will in the light find the road. He's singing to a woman, I think, in the song. The light will find you. The light will find your load, and he doesn't share your load. He doesn't share your load. He takes it from you. So, any opinion on that?
Dude, that's perfect because
years.
We go ahead, Joe. What was that?
I thought he was singing "I Will Share Your Love." and I'm looking at the lyrics, and I double checked it, online, and
Uh-huh.
share your load. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I've had it wrong for 50 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, and I guess everyone load being like burden and all the bad stuff in your life, and you give it to
Right.
God. God. And I know this was going to open up a can of worms with you, man, because I know you know that Bible pretty well. So
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy to me how I think Cheech and I think Joe, Cheech and I talked that I feel as though Zeppelin at one point could have done like a Christian concept album, because I'm actually pretty amazed that how their Christian themes kind of seep, especially in this
yeah,
album too. Physical Graffiti, I always found that fascinating. But yeah, Cheech, because in Ephesians, yeah, so it's like chapter 5. I mean, it literally sounds like the song. There's a verse here that says, "For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord." And the song sort of like is, I think, a meditation on all that.
right.
Right. So and just musically, which you'll talk about, it has that mystical sound too, which I also find fascinating.
Yeah. Between Dylan's religious themes and now Zeppelin's religious themes, it's like Bible class.
I know.
All right.
I only learned recently that the droning noise at the beginning, that incredible drone, was Jimmy putting a bow on an acoustic guitar.
Yep, you got it. That's one of the things I have in here. That's an amazing sound.
I was gonna say it's such a unique sound. Like I thought at first it was some sort of mellotron or synthesizer. I'm like, what is that sound? Like it sounds. And I also found that, Joe, that it was his famous using the bow to play his guitar.
Yeah, I thought it was a synthesizer, because this is a very synthesized kind of song. John Paul Jones is all over this with the synths.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
it's like this song, believe it or not, would have fit very well with "In Through the Outdoor," because it is a very John Paul Jones influenced song.
Well, wait, didn't he write it, John Paul Jones?
He got songwriting credit.
Okay. It does sound like a John Paul Jones song.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's all over it.
And yeah, no, like lyrics wise, Cheech, I mean that's on it, because yeah, I love that line. I mean, just to break some lines apart. I mean, the Ephesians it's a famous, just like letters, and you're right. One of the sections is talking about how everything will be brought into the light. Right, and that's a big theme, and it's a big chapter. But I just first of all, like musically, you'll be talking about it soon, so I don't want to dwell on it, but I don't want to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
But obviously, the song is titled "In the Light," and the song starts out by saying, "And if you feel like you can't go on and your will's sinking low, just believe, and you can't go wrong." Right? So he's saying, "Just believe," and then I guess the next question would be, "In what though?" And then in the light, you will find the road. You will find the road. And again, it's great that you said that. I didn't even know it was based on Ephesians, because that's what one section is about. It's not literally saying like, hey, if you're lost, just shine the light or whatever. But, and just so you guys can kind of hear this, is like Ephesians, have nothing to do. So look at this. For once you were darkness, but now you are a light in the Lord. Live as children of light. So light is a big theme. For the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth. So I think that's what Plant is sort of, talking about in this song. And I love that line, Joe, where he says, "Let me share your load," and then let me share your load. I think it's sort of similar to the band's The Weight song. Do you guys know that song?
You just read my mind. Take a look.
Yeah.
Man.
I literally was thinking of that. So I'm thinking, man, this song.
That's a religious song.
Yeah, and Joe, I was saying to Cheech that they could have made like a Catholic concept album, just like with the songs "In My Time of Dying." Like they had this strange way of talking about religious stuff, which I It's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. Anything, Joe? Anything you want to bring up?
I had no idea there might have been religious connotations to it because when you think of Led Zeppelin music, you think of the dark arts or something. You think
No,
of something,
exactly, exactly.
Aleister Crowley and that world.
Yeah, and they're going the complete opposite.
Right. And I don't know if you two would agree. When I used to think of Led Zeppelin, that too, yeah, Joe. Like I used to think of that because I did hear about Jimmy Page's dabble in the occult and the debauchery. So I always thought Led Zeppelin as sort of like a Def Leppard. I know that's the wrong comparison, but I thought they were a overindulgent band. Like I never knew they had sort of like this spiritual side to them, which
I think that was Plant. Plant had that. Plant was the hippie. You know what I mean? Deep down, he's a hippie. Page was the rock star. John
right.
Bonham was the insane one. You know, crazy guy, and John Paul Jones was the musician. In my opinion about the four guys. And Peter Grant was the man. You know, he was the guy. So in the light, John Paul Jones, I thought he wrote the whole thing, but Joe, you said he got just credit.
That's what I thought. I thought he wrote the whole thing.
Yeah, he got equal songwriting credit with Page and Plant.
Okay.
Okay.
Jimmy used the bow on an acoustic, which gives it that drone. The synthesizers are amazing.
Yeah.
It really, it's almost like you're in another planet or something.
Otherworldly. Yep.
It was called In the Morning. It was the original song. And I love the dynamics. It has great dynamics. You know, the music hit. And then, you know, great drumming, great melody and words, great groove. And it goes from very soft with a vocal effect that's very cool. That effect is. Then it gets really heavy, and then it gets soft again, and that, you know, that's how it ends. So, genius, beautiful song.
Yeah,
you know, one of the best songs on the album. I love it. You know.
Yeah. I don't know if you two would agree. It's definitely like a challenging listen, though. Like coming from, you know, the first half, which sounds like classic Led Zeppelin. This one takes things a little, sort of, I would say maybe proggy, a little. You know, it's challenging because it goes through such.
They're getting proggy, and I sent you some. You know,
wait, and that was the song that you were referring to, right? In the light, like that was. No,
I was telling you I'm going to start to write Presents, the album Presents.
Right.
And
I remember. No, but I mentioned you a song or something. I forgot what I was telling you.
It's definitely a little proggy, this song, because the keyboards are almost like Rick Wakeman-esque or Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
You know, it has that unique. He's really all over.
But it's like it's challenging because let's say for a first-time Zeppelin fan, I don't think they would be able to embrace this song. It's a patient song. You gotta have patience with it.
Compare this song to Rock and Roll. Forget about it.
Exactly.
Oh, it's like Rush's first. Sorry, Joe. Rush's first album. You know, to Cygnus.
No, dude. It's like just to make. Sorry, Joe. We got to do a Rush reference. It's like Tom Sawyer. If anyone's like, hey, what's a song you recommend from Rush? Yeah, listen to Cygnus X1 Book 2. 20-minute like prog song. But I wouldn't like In the Light is amazing, but it's a challenging listen.
Are Maggie's Farm to that instrumental on Nashville Skyline?
Well, I'll be honest with you, but some people will like that because it has that country. You know, country music is popular now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm still blown away by Nashville Skyline. Like that's the latest one, folks, that I just wrote, and like lyrically not much, but I'm just blown away by it. I just fell in love with the album. Okay. Now, Joe, you're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation.
This one's so hard.
I can't roll the R. I believe it's Bron-Yr-Aur.
Wait. So it's Bron-Y-Aur. See, I'm trying to roll the R.
It's 2 syllables. Bron-Yr-Aur.
That is so strange. Where does that title come from?
And if you
All right.
Google it, if you Google it, there's actually an audio file that will come up, and there's an actual Welsh citizen or narrator who says it. He says, "This is how you pronounce it." I can't do it.
It's named after a house in Wales where Led Zeppelin would write songs.
Oh.
Cottage. It means hill of gold in Welsh, whatever, you know. So that Bron-Yr-Aur is a country melodic acoustic solo, just on acoustic guitar. Beautiful melody with nice effects on it. Great middle section, very mystical. It has a nice repetitive part that he plays over and over in the millionth, in the middle. It's a brilliant song. And he plays that part twice, and it's just a beautiful instrumental piece that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, that he just plays. And for me, I'll always remember it when they're in the limousine on the way to Madison Square Garden, and the song remains the same. It's being played, and the sun is kind of coming through the window, and you hear it in the background. And yeah, I think me and Joe talked about that, and I remember thinking, wait a second, the song remains the same came out before Physical Graffiti, right? You know, as a kid, it was like, it came out what, in '73, the movie, or was it later?
Much later.
Much later. Okay.
They filmed it in '73. Then they did the fantasy sequences after that. But I don't think they released it until like October of '76. I could be wrong.
Okay.
So after Graffiti was released.
Okay. So the music was there. It was written already. Interesting.
It's also Led Zeppelin 3 outtake. I mean, that's kind of significant.
Oh, it's a Zeppelin 3 outtake?
Yeah, so that was their folky campfire vibe.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's such a, like, it's almost classical, but it has a country vibe, you know.
Yeah.
It shows Jimmy's side. The guy is just a genius.
Yeah.
You know, people say he's sloppy. Listen to that piece. He's not, you know. You know, he can play. It's almost like Segovia kind of style guitar. All right. So moving along, Down by the Seaside. Now, Joe, I know you had a nice opinion about this song. You wanna tell me what you think? You know, what it's about, or?
Well, I thought it was about the environment and protecting the environment.
That definitely is, yeah.
You know, that, yeah. I can't, I mean, I'm looking at the lyrics, but that's what I find. I mean, there are people that seem to think that Plant was influenced by Neil Young on this song, you know, the Down by the River, and I don't see it. I just don't see any comparison at all, you know, especially lyrically. Yeah.
I read it was influenced by Neil Young. I kind of hear it in the vocals a little bit.
I hear it, but not Down by the River Neil Young, but more his later kind of actually like folk rock style. Because this song, you'll be talking about musically, but this song musically, how would you two describe it? It's kind of hard to describe. See, I hear the Neil Young in that.
Well, I have. Well, this is what I got lyrically. They wrote it in Seattle.
Okay.
And they were hanging out by the water in the summer, and they were influenced by Neil Young. Thinking about the people, bringing it back to nature, like what Joe said, definitely. And then some lyrics are like weird, like, you know, I can't help but bring up Bob Dylan, but like, you know, twisting, you know, some going, twisting, everybody's chubby checker.
Right. It's like a, I'll be honest with you, it's a strange song. I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but for me, I don't know, it doesn't, like, it's great, but for me, it doesn't sound memorable. That's just my opinion. I like the song, but it wouldn't be like the first one I would hit play.
Yeah, it was not one of my favorites. I've played it a few times when I was in a mellow mood, but I'd rather hear Tangerine,
Right,
you know,
right, right.
than that. It's still a great song.
No, I know it's a Led Zeppelin 4 outtake, I think.
Yeah, and the music is interesting though. The music
Well,
gets
that's what it is. That's why it's so. I don't know how to describe it because, and then we'll be talking about it next. Like, I'll be honest with you, 10 years gone blows that song away,
Oh yeah,
which we'll be
definitely.
talking about soon. But Down by the Seaside is an interesting one. And I hear the Neil Young influence, not the Crazy Horse, but more of his you know, Harvest style or like Zuma or anything after Harvest.
I'm just drawn to the last verse of the song when I talk about it being about maybe saving the planet. When he sings, "Sing loud for the sunshine, pray hard for the rain,
Yeah.
and show your love for Lady Nature, and she will come back again."
Yeah, and I think Zeppelin 4 was about that too.
Oh, yes,
They
right. Then you say there was a return to nature pastoral way of life.
got to remember the 70s was about vegetarians and the hippies getting back to Earth Day started, so that was a big thing, you know. A man named John Mackey was cooking up some ideas about a store, in the 70s, So Earth and getting back to nature was all about that.
Cheech, there was something simple. I mean, I don't like this. And Joe, I don't know if you're gonna like this. We're gonna do a future episode, which hopefully you'll write soon, Cheech, on Jesus, Christ Superstar,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
musical.
definitely.
But do you remember the other one, Godspell? That you're right. That was the big thing in the '70s. Away from the city and return to kind of simpler way of
Yeah,
life. So
yeah. I grew up as a kid, and I remember that, Earth Earth Day, and remember the Native American Joe crying a guy over litter. There was a famous commercial,
Yeah,
and
PSA.
there's this Native American, old Indian kind of guy with a horse, and there's a piece of litter in the mountain somewhere, and you see a tear running down his eye, and it was like,
I think I remember seeing a parody of that.
yeah, and it was like a famous commercial. Like it was, I remember as a kid, stuck with me. So that was a big deal.
No, and you're reminding me of, you guys know the classic Eagles album, little album called Hotel California, but on that it has the song "The Last Resort," which is kind of like an environmental song too. Like, I guess you're right. There was a big environmental
Yeah,
emphasis and theme with a lot of these
yeah.
bands, and yeah, I think Cheech and Joe, you guys got it. I think is the pro
People
environmental song.
were vegetarian. People were going back to the roots. There would I know it's a G show, but like nude beaches and all that kind of thing, where families would go, like going back to nature, primal kind of stuff. So there's some weird stuff still going on in the 70s, but music, it has a country vibe. It's
Yeah,
mellow.
yeah. He was
Then
country rock.
yeah, and then Plant goes so far away, and it gets funky. It gets into a funk groove with a great guitar solo. Then it goes back to mellow, and Jimmy has a tremolo effect on his guitar through Leslie speakers. And the Leslie speakers is what they would go through on a Hammond organ. John Paul Jones, great electric piano. And the rumor is, and Joe, you would have to fact check me because the G show, they never played it live.
No,
Uh,
never played it live.
and I researched it, and there was some debate about it, but I have to go with that. They never played it live.
Why do you guys think why?
I felt like maybe they felt like it wasn't a strong song.
Yeah.
I've done that. We would write songs and record them and then play it once or twice, and just we didn't like the way it felt, or we wouldn't enjoy playing it. So
Right.
I can relate. No. Right. 10 years gone. Could anyone guess what this song is about? It's actually funny.
I mean, just from the, I'm assuming it's some sort of like just based on when I listen to it, is it like a breakup song?
Yes, it's more, but more. There's more to it.
Okay.
I think Robert Plant was in a relationship with a girl in high school, and I think that they broke up. Uh, I think it might have to do with the girl told him, "You have to choose between having a relationship with me or your music career," and he chose music. And I think he's looking
Ooh.
back 10 years later
This is
and
why we Mr. Silkman,
remembering it.
Manny. This is why we have the show. You nailed it.
Yes,
That's
sir. No, you know what's funny, dude, and that's what I. It's funny. I thought, yeah. So Joe, yeah. Now you're making me think because it sounds. First of all, the song is. I'm telling you, this song blows down by the seaside away because this is probably one of the best ones on side two. Every time I listen to it, the song, you're gonna be talking about it, but musically, it sounds so melancholy and like sad. And Joe, Cheech and I were saying, you know, like loves of your life when you have to choose between your passion and your love, right? It's sort of sometimes challenging. Like love of your musician, love of music. You know, sometimes to be the best, you
I've
got to make sacrifices.
been there twice. So,
Wait, so how do you feel when you listen to the song?
Um, my goal was always to be like Rush, like those guys been happily married for way 40 years, And that's what I wanted. But it's hard when you're in a band and you're really really into your art. Um,
Right.
they're so into supporting you when you're not married. But then once you get married, they don't really support you unless you're famous. If you become famous, that's a different story. But I became famous. But it's hard. It's hard. If you want to be great at your craft and be a great musician, you're gonna spend more time. I spent more time with my bass than anything ever. Honestly, you know, like I spent more time locked in my room with my bass and in bands and in rehearsals and gigs than any person or anybody my whole life since 1984. So it's like it's a choice you make. I almost compare it to being a priest. You get a calling from God, and you're just like, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm gonna do. You know, so it's hard. You got to find the right person, and then
What
good
What do
luck.
you think? Does Plan capture those sentiments in the song?
Yeah, it's almost like he's sad that he misses the girl because he was young. He's like, how old could he have been? 14. You know what I mean? If it's 10 years gone, 16, 15 maybe, because the album is 10 years.
He was 27 when the album came out. So
Oh,
come
was
on, First Love at 17.
okay, so 17, yeah. So that's the time when you get serious with a girl, and at that time you got really serious. Like you got married, you had kids early. Like my parents had me when they were super young. So in the late 60s, late 60s, early 70s, you started a family. Uh, and he chose music. Imagine if he just wanted to be a family man. It's great. You know.
His father wanted him to go to school and be a chartered accountant like he was.
But you know what I saw an interview. He actually wanted to become a school teacher. Robert Plant.
After Zeppelin disbanded, he
No,
considered that.
during Zeppelin. Uh,
During. Never
during,
did that.
I had the video. When you get a video and then you lose it? I lost it. Look up.
Wait, what did he want to teach?
He went to a teaching academy and they said that he got in. He's going to be a teacher. I don't know what album. I think it might have been after Presence. After all bad stuff happened. When his kid passed away and stuff, he was done with that life, and he really thought about just giving it all up. It might have been a reel, and he was actually saying this. I was trying to, I lost it. I was going to send it to you. These reels pop up, and then you're just like, oh, they're gone. Imagine him as your teacher, Mr. Plant.
Mr. Plant.
Mr. Plant, tell me about the LA Queens. You know what I mean?
Man, it's funny because I was talking to, oh man, yeah, or they're gonna be like, hey, Mr. Plant, what are the plaster caster? What's the plaster caster girl?
God. Oh, well, when we get to the LA Queens, I was going to ask Joe if Laurie Maddox was part of that or she came later.
We just gotta keep it PG, I guess. He's a lot of, you know.
Laurie Maddox a little later, or she's a part of the LA Queen?
She's part of the LA Queens.
Right. That's okay. Because
her and it was 73. I think they met her.
Yeah, and there's actually pictures of like her and John Paul Jones and Jimmy just hanging out, and I seen her interview, and she was like, that was the greatest time of her life, you know, according to her. Miss Pamela, Sweet Connie, because Grand Funk names all of the girls in the we're an American band. Sweet Connie, Miss Pamela, Laurie Maddox were the three. Almost Famous did a great job of capturing the LA Queens. You know,
you guys out there, if you haven't seen Almost Famous, the movie, see Almost Famous, and you get a little bit of a flavor of what that scene was like.
Yeah,
Kate Hudson is fantastic in it, and so is the kid who played Cameron Crowe.
And there's still they never came out who the band was. I asked Roger Glover this. I said, was it Deep Purple? And he goes, I've been trying to figure out who the band was, because he goes, I seen the movie. He goes, no one really knows who the band is in that movie. Some people say it was Skynyrd, because there's a scene with an airplane. I don't know. Some people say it was Skynyrd because they do that airplane scene, but then, it's mythical. Then they talk about being a golden god. It's a combination. I think it's not one band. It's a mix of all the bands as a metaphor.
That's what I thought.
And it's a great movie. Penny Lane, gotta love her. The girl was the actress, so cute. I forget her name.
Yeah, perfectly cast. She did a great job in that.
Yeah. So 10 years going musically. This is sick. This is nuts, man. Jimmy Page, 14 guitar tracks.
That's insane.
14. That's why it's so heavy.
Well, yeah, and that's why it sounds so stunning too.
Yeah, he overdubbed, the harmony section. John Paul Jones uses the 3-neck guitar that we talked about in the last episode. It was like a mandolin, acoustic, and it looked like a lute or something. Bass pedals. And this was going to be an instrumental song originally. And they interweave riffs. It has that, that hypnotic kind of vibe in the song. It goes from light to dark. Great melody, great lyrics, a long build-up. The build-up is pretty long, before they get into.
But it's good though.
Yeah, and it goes from heavy to soft, and it is a long build up because you're waiting, and then when it comes in, it's like, pretty cool. So, any comment?
It's one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. It's in my top 10 all-time Led Zeppelin songs. Jimmy's work is so beautiful on it. There's so many layering of guitars that it was very challenging for them to do it live.
Right.
And Jimmy admits that, but they figured it out.
Oh yeah. And this is before MIDI and Pro Tools and all that. Oh, did you see that jackass that tried to Pro Tools Robert Plant? Manny?
Yeah. There are so many people like that out there. And they're using AI too.
And I'm like, no. You don't do that.
There's so many people that are doing that.
And you're saying like he's not singing perfect. Like, of course he's not. It's the blues, There's perfection.
That's so dumb. I know.
Unless you're Rush, that's
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I'm gonna agree with Joe. This is probably I keep replaying this song. It's like you're right. It's a slow build up, but that's what makes it so cinematic and classic Zeppelin. Like it's just, I think it's like Led Zeppelin, you know, perfected. I think this song is probably one of the best ones on the album.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's magical, you know.
Yeah.
Just, and then what is it? Earl's Court, Joe, is where they really. That's like the great performance of it. On the.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I know. It's
Being...
Earl's Court, because Earl's Court was pretty much 1975.
Yeah, I know they did 10 Years Gone, like every show in the '77 tour.
Okay.
I'm not sure about doing it in '75. They were doing Sick Again in '75. They were doing, of course, Kashmir. I think they did Kashmir every single show after Physical came out, every tour.
Amazing.
You know, 10 Years Gone, I think they had to find a way to arrange it so they could do it live. Because people were trying to say, well, you need another guitarist. Just get a fifth member of the band. And Jimmy was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oddly enough, they did it for the plant.
Not to bring up not to bring up the little band from Canada, but they thought about bringing in a keyboard player on Farewell to Kings, and Geddy was like, "No, I'm going to learn how to play keyboards." You know, so I'm glad. I'm glad Zeppelin never brought in a rhythm guitar player, or Rush never had a key. You know, brought in. They all did guest musicians. You know, which is cool. You know, Ben Mink played violin on Losing It, and Ian Stewart is on Rock and Roll and Boogie with Stu, which I can't wait to get to that one. That's become the most fascinating song for me. You know, me and Manny talked about it. Now this is interesting. Night Flight. I've always been a fan of this song. You know, it's a good song. The lyrics are interesting. Now, Joe, you have the lyrics in front of you. I don't know. This is my analyzation about it. I think it's about dodging Vietnam, dodging a military draft. A man is running away. There's knocking down the doors. Mr. Brakeman rings your doorbell, Mr. Fireman. And was Robert Plant, did Plant have a brother, or did somebody have a brother who was coming home from war? You know, I don't know if somebody was either coming home from Vietnam or dodging Vietnam, or was it just as simple as the night flight on their jet? You know, I don't know. That's a tough one to break down. I don't know what your opinion on that.
I can't find the lyric that I'm looking for. It's so funny, and I'm looking at the lyrics.
You know, it's funny for me. This is also another one that's not my favorite. Like, I think it's okay, but you say it's about Vietnam.
I think it's about dodging the Vietnam War.
Oh, it's about avoiding the draft, and the song was actually done during the 1971 sessions for Zeppelin 4.
So Vietnam was still going on. I think Nixon might have been.
Listen to how crisp his voice is great on this.
Yeah.
Cheech and I were talking beforehand about. I was telling him that it was always rumored that Robert Plant had vocal surgery after the '73 tour, and I found in a book that was true. So some of the songs on Physical Graffiti are very raw.
No, you could hear it.
Draining.
Yeah.
And Trampled Underfoot, Kashmir, Sick Again were three of the songs that are really gritty. Actually, it's what I think makes the songs great. But something like Night Flight was done on an earlier session years before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love it. In fact, I love the drums on Night Flight because it sounds like Bonham is having a blast. He is having so much fun. Listen to the drums next time you check out Night Flight.
Let me re-listen to that.
Exactly what you said. Now I think John Paul Jones wrote most of the music. It was supposed to be on Led Zeppelin 4. The hi-hat opens up the song with a funky pattern and a funky beat. The straight ahead song, great drum fills, nice organ, great bass line, simple, pretty heavy organ. The bass line gets really fast, and he uses a thing called pedal tones, which is like he stays on one note where all the chords kind of go by. Um, and there's nice stops at the very end. And there's no guitar solo in this song.
Right.
Which, like, you know, like going back to Dylan, because my mind's on Dylan mode. Sometime in Nashville Skyline, there's no harmonica solo. You know, like,
wait, is there any harmonica solo on Nashville Skyline?
oh yeah, there's harmonica, but there'll be songs where there's no harmonica at all. You know, and like for Zeppelin not to have a guitar solo, that's like an odd, you know, that's a nice the word I'm looking for, like Jimmy Page was holding back, you know, he wasn't like, I could let's just put a solo over it. You know, he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to be like, oh, I'm going to solo on every song. I like when guitar players kind of do that. You take breaks from solos, so it's not too much. So any thoughts about the music on that? Anything?
I mean, no. Again, it's like I maybe have to re-listen to it. Is this album? This double album is so gargantuan that I feel like side 2. This could be one of the tracks that can easily be overlooked. I guess. Like, I don't know if you two would agree.
Like,
but
well, I would say, like, to our viewers, I mean, you know, I'm taking it for granted because I grew up with it. But somebody who's new to this might be like, whoa, you know, what 4, 8, 12, 16 songs we're dealing with. You know, and like people are just dropping like one single today. You know what I mean? Like, so a young kid, you know, might get like a new single dropped or two, and then like a month later another single. This is 16 songs, so you gotta like just. Well, back then it was the norm to just listen to, you know, stuff like this, but just take your time with it. You know, listen to one side, then go into the other side. And then go back to the first side, and then go. You know, I would say you need about 6 months with this album if you really want to get. I think, and I did. You know, it was in my playlist probably for 2 years. I would say. Right.
I have a new appreciation for Night Flight. I never really used to listen to it. I would skip over it a bit.
Yeah.
But I really like it now, and I like the drums on it.
Oh, the drums are great. Yeah, the drums are phenomenal. Yeah. All right. So, the Wanton Song, and not about Chinese food. You know, it's not even mentioned.
No.
Don't know. Oh, I couldn't find out why they call it that. It's about desire. There's no mention of a title in the song. Once again, it's a metaphor for a woman. Rated G, you know, keep it G. One source says, oh God, how can I put this? It's about someone's first time having fun doing something.
Wait, why do they call it the Wanton Song?
I don't know. I couldn't find that. And it's about the first time actually doing something or paying for something. If you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Even a G. You get it, Manny? You know what I'm saying?
No need to say anymore. No need to say anymore.
Or you're gonna like this. It's about a succubus, the perfect demonic female who visits you at night and chips away at your soul. A bad woman. Every time I fall, I think this is the one. That's the lyric. A bad woman in a relationship. So it's either about a woman who's kind of a bad relationship going on, or the first I said. So I really, I don't know.
I mean, I can see any of those.
Yeah, you know, I know. And I don't know where wonton comes from in this. I'm not getting that too much.
I looked it up in the dictionary here that it's of a cruel or violent action, deliberate and unprovoked, like sheer wanton vandalism. Or another one is sexually unrestrained. or having many casual sexual relationships.
Ooh.
So there's definitely that
wow.
tone. That's in there.
It's funny. That sounds like classic Led Zeppelin lyrics.
Yeah.
I thought wanton meant like, just having a good time, just, playing around. I tell you what, I didn't even think about the lyrics. This is another one. I think the riff is just as good as Black Dog in many ways.
No,
I would like
no.
the riff 24 hours straight.
No, it's funny because Cheech, you're breaking this down, and then I'm looking. By the way, I feel as though that Night Flight is strange. Like Night Flight is lyrically dense, so maybe, and it's funny because it follows 10 Years Gone, which, as we said, that song obviously is a jewel on side 2, or diamond, a big diamond. But Wanton Song, I mean, lyrically, look at this: silent woman in the night, and then I'm not. You kind of went into details. You came, took my seed from my shaking frame. Same old fire, another flame, and the wheel rolls on. So, and it's pretty simple. I mean,
it goes back to our Lamia.
Yeah, dude, and this person falls in love with the Lamia because look, is it every time I fall that I think this is the one? So my dude is like, remember how we said Iron Maiden? Remember that one song? What was that one song on that Maiden album? Charlotte the Harlot, where he falls in love with, I'm keeping it G-rated, but he falls in love with a certain woman of the night, and he's wondering, is this the one? I'm gonna marry her. I'm in love. I'm just like, man.
I mean, was it again?
And musically, it matches the lyrics. Musically, the riff and music is dirty hard rock.
Every time I fall, I think this is the one.
That's the one I mentioned.
Been there. You know what I mean?
It sounds like your song.
It's totally. You think this is the one. You're mistaken.
You guys want to know? I love this song because I love Chinese wontons, so I always thought of that.
Yeah.
Even though it has nothing to do with Chinese wontons.
No, because I guess wonton means what Joe said, something else.
Yeah, Joe, you had that correct. Yeah, I didn't even know that was that thing.
So started out at jam sessions, the riff. Page uses a backwards echo, to where the echo is ahead of the beat, so it's ahead of the note. So you hear the echo before you hear the note. He used it in the Yardbirds a lot. Great vocals, very gritty. That gritty sound, amazing riff, and amazing syncopated hits. That bound man down. That I love that. Musical syncopation groove in the middle section. You hear the effect in the back of the second verse. Great solo with the main riff underneath it. And there's this great solo with the effect on the keyboard. It's classic riff. What could you say? What could you say about this song? It's just classic. It's amazing.
You can tell that Robert Plant, his voice was so raw and ragged, that he definitely had something going on with his vocal cords.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it makes the song better. Really good. And God, the riff and the drums, unbelievable.
Oh, it's really good. It's amazing. Now, anything else on that?
I think it's just another. I'd say it's the most loved possible. Classic Led Zeppelin dirty number, like Custard Pie.
Talk about riffs,
The riff is dirty,
out on the tiles. He was a riff master.
Yeah,
he was a riff master, and it's funny. And I keep forgetting he's such a riff master. I keep forgetting. I know this is a sin, but I keep forgetting his guitar solos.
Well, he doesn't get enough credit as being a riff master. The riff master goes to Iommi all the time. Iommi is the king of the riffs,
dude.
But Jimmy's no joke when it comes to that.
No, and it's funny because Like even his riffs are so good. Now, is this? I don't know if this has been happening or it has happened. I keep forgetting that he's a solo guitarist as well. So I keep forgetting his guitar solos, even though I shouldn't. And those riffs are stuck in my head. Like the Houses of the Holy riff, for example,
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
amazing. The one on the Rover is amazing.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
slide guitar riff that he plays on "In My Time of Dying" is amazing. The Kashmir riff is amazing. He's a riff master. I think he might give
Yeah.
Tony Iommi a run for his money.
Well, Tony was
Well,
more
Tony
that
Iommi,
it was darker riffs, And Geezer wrote
the
a lot
Devil's
of
Tritone, right? Cheech,
yeah,
the Devil's Tritone.
Devil's Tone.
Do I have that right?
Yeah, when you think some of the
Semitone.
riffs, tritone. You're right. When you think of some of the riffs Sabbath wrote, I mean, easy as it may be, now Iron Man is just like bow now
I mean, they're the innovators. They're the innovators.
Sweet Leaf bow now. I mean, they're just amazing. And Geezer had a lot to do with that too. It wasn't always just Tony. Geezer wrote a lot. But yeah, Zeppelin doesn't get known for their riffs as much as Sabbath does, but they should. They really should.
No, I think maybe it's because I'm going on Led Zeppelin overload, but I'm seeing you guys are absolutely right. Jimmy Page is a riff master, and like when you hear Houses of the Holy, it just gets stuck in your head. It's like the Iron Man riff. Like you hear bam 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 bam. Like it just stays stuck in your head. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Black Dog. That gets stuck in your head.
Oh man, I know.
Before we go to the next one, I just need a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You won't miss me. Hold on.
Yeah.
Like Whole Lot of Love.
Dude, and I will say, and it's funny because Tony Iommi and Page, they play different guitars. Has Page ever played an SG?
No, not to my knowledge.
Right? He's always, what's his guitar? The Les Paul, right?
Junior, which is a smaller version of a Les Paul, than necessarily the Les Paul.
And Iommi, and by the way, like maybe one day we'll have our episode on Riff Masters, like AC/DC riff, dude. Like Angus Young, right?
Angus, yeah, he's a riff master as well.
He's another one where his riffs. I mean, obviously AC/DC eclipses Zeppelin in terms of riffs, only because some of their iconic riffs. But I didn't know Page is such an underrated riffer.
Angus didn't write the riffs or the songs. Malcolm did. Malcolm wrote all that.
Malcolm. Oh, you're right. Wait a minute. It's a brother team. You're right. The Youngs.
So Malcolm Young is the greatest rhythm guitar player. There you go. Of all. No, leave it.
80s Page.
I love it. I was looking at. I used to put ads in that magazine. That was a magazine you could buy for like $1. It says anything $1.95, and then it would have what's going on, metal, rock, and then they'd have local bands. My band, we would put ads in there. You would put ads for drummers, guitar players. It was a cool thing. It was before Band Mix or or Craigslist.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
No. I mean, this is like insane. And the back is like a recording studio. Trying to see like what else is in this.
That's a very rare copy you got there.
Yeah.
Collector's edition.
Oh, Sade's in it. The Bangles.
Nice.
I'm just like going through it. So this would have been what, Joe? Oh, it's 1986. The Fine Young Cannibals.
Oh wow.
So it's not. It wasn't only like rock. It was like everything, pretty much. In it. Okay. Now this one is very, very interesting. And me and Manny talked about this. I think Joe, we might have talked about it. I sent you some stuff on it. Boogie with Stu. And Joe, who is Stu?
Ian Stewart was the road manager for the Stones, but originally when the band got together, he played the keyboards. He was a very, very good boogie woogie piano player.
Yeah. No.
Uh, he was everybody's friend, and the Stones loved him, and so did Zeppelin. Good
Yeah.
friends with the guys from Zeppelin.
He's on rock and
he was
roll.
at the set. They asked him if he wanted to sit in and play.
Yeah.
Boogie With Stu.
He's on rock and roll. So this song is just lyrically very interesting. I find this fascinating, actually. Lyrics are about having a good time, lighthearted, playful lyrics, fun, upbeat vibe. No tutti frutti, you know, a Little Richard quote. No lollipop, the Chordettes, that's the song Lollipop. Just rock, 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 about shaking all night and dancing, which is a reference to, you know, I'm not going to say because it's a G show. We all know what dancing leads to for some people. Just a lot of words, a lot of meaning. Taken from Ooh My Head by the late, great Richie Valens. And they actually say it in the song. Now, the lyrics, you know, are very similar to Richie Valens. You know, Valens is played faster, the song Ooh My Head. Zeppelin is played a lot slower. They gave Richie Valens song credit, but I think they did it to be nice because they know his mom didn't make any money off the poor guy, and they gave him, you know, they threw his mother a bone, and I really think, now we talked about it, Manny, like, is it did they pull like a ripoff on it, or is it different? You know, is it the same song and they stole it, or did they make it Zeppelinized, like you know, what's the other one? In My Time of Dying, you know, did they, you know, or is it, or like When the Levee Breaks, or is it a Richie Valens song and they just stole it? How do you guys feel about that?
Well, on the album, I don't know if you can see it, Boogie With Stu, they actually gave a songwriting credit to Mrs. Valens. That's Richie Valens' mother.
Wow.
But they also gave songwriting credit to Ian Stewart of the Rolling Stones.
That's interesting.
So they heard, I think, that the Valens estate didn't have much money, and so it was a way that she would get some income. But she still sued them anyway.
Oh, she did? No, she got credit?
But it was thrown out because Richie Valens plagiarized it, because I think originally it came from a Little Richard tune.
Yeah, mentioned Little Richard in the song. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was nice of them because I know she didn't make any money for some reason. He was so young, Richie Valens. Anybody ever see the Richie Valens movie? It's so worth it. It's an old '80s movie. You ever see it, Manny?
No, but I know the Lobos La Bamba.
Yeah, it's amazing, and he was a genius at 17. That dude was 17 writing all those songs like Oh Donna, La Bamba. I mean, what a talent, you know. And then he died, unfortunately.
I think the actor was Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah. Oh, he did. What was it? The Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, and Richie Valens. They all went down, and you know, it was really, really sad. So I think Boogie With Stu. I think Ian Stewart got credit because the piano is nuts. You know, the piano's all over the place. So how could you not give him credit? This is interesting. I always thought that the drum beat was weird. Didn't make sense to me, but it's Bonham playing a suitcase with an echo effect. He's playing an old suitcase, and they put some kind of echo on it. And it almost sounds like an electronic drum, but they didn't exist back then. Ian Stewart just rips piano solo. It's a 12-bar
So
blues.
Ian Stewart is the one playing the piano.
Yeah, he's just killing
Dude,
it.
It sounds like a Jerry Lee Lewis piano
or
something.
That was his style. Like that was the style that he played in.
Yeah, like 1950s, right? So I'm assuming if they took it from Richie Valens, like
You know, they even say "Ooh My Head," but yet it's a, it's a different tempo. It's slowed down, crazy piano, bluesy lyrics, kind of like part two to rock and roll. I think, like the song rock and roll,
Yeah, yeah, but definitely like slowed down.
and then it ends with that strange drum thing again. That like um, what is it? An old suitcase where he's like whatever, kind of weird sounds.
Right.
So,
It was
any
crazy.
comment?
This is a Led Zeppelin 4 outtake.
Really? Well, it would make
Yeah,
sense
that's
because
insane.
Ian Stewart was around because he played on rock and roll.
Right. But you
Yeah,
mentioned like rock and roll because rock and roll has like that. It's funny because I don't know how you guys would classify the song rock and roll of Led Zeppelin 4. That song sounds what rock and roll sounds like to me, has always sounded like. And then
yeah,
this
yeah,
song too. But I don't think it
yeah.
would have probably fit well in the sound of the album because it sounds strange. Like it's too
It,
old
it's weird.
school rock and roll.
It's a weird song.
And you're
Do you
saying like
remember?
Bottom is playing a suitcase. It's like what?
Yeah. Do you remember the weird guy who used to work at the temple? His name was Stewart.
Wait a minute. Oh, the guy who went to the library and like never came
Yeah.
back.
I don't want to say weird. He was a nice guy. I'm sorry. He was a nice guy if you ever watches this show. But he was weird.
Imagine he's watching right now. Imagine he's watching. He just unsubscribed.
Yeah. Uh, I used to call him Boogie with Stu. That was my nickname for him.
Oh, wait a minute. I remember that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember. I remember. Yeah. Wait, because of the song.
Yeah. Because he was so weird. Like, he would just be like, I'm going on break, and you wouldn't see him for 3 hours. Don't know how the guy had a job. He went and he would go play chess at the library and come back. But he was a cool dude. Like, he was really smart. We would have crazy conversations about like the Knights Templar and all kinds of wacky. He was a Roman expert, so him and Gil would always go on and on.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know if Joe might not remember him. He was I think he worked nights. Boogie with Stu.
Now, any Stewart, I'm gonna call him Boogie with Stu.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting song. The next one. For those of you who don't know out there, this song is not what you think it's about. What the title says, it's about a part of England called the Black Country.
Oh.
So it's the Black Country is the Midlands in England. Glenn Hughes is from there. I believe Sabbath is from there, and of course
That's
Zeppelin.
cool.
So Black Country Woman, when you first hear it, you're like, wait, are they racist? You know what I mean? But it's about the Black Country, Midlands, So it's about a woman from England who lives in the Midlands. It's very folk rock. It talks about the region. I think it's about Maureen, Plant's wife. Maybe he got into a fight with her. And the lyrics aren't nice. And is she gonna leave him in the song? Because it mentions that, and he also says, "I know your sister" in the song. So could it be about? I maybe he was messing around with her sister all this time. Was his ex-girlfriend, and he ended up marrying her. Right. And or was he hooking up with another woman? I don't know. So it's about a woman from the Midlands, Black Country woman, and I think it's about Maureen and Maureen's sister, and I think he was messing around on her, and she found out about it. This is my opinion. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a matter of interpretation, because I know the Plant was married to Maureen until 1983, but it makes me wonder. I know originally when they were very, very young, Plant had actually asked Maureen's sister Shirley out first, and Shirley said no. So
But
I don't know who it's about. All I know is that it's true that after the divorce, unbelievably, Robert Plant had a relationship with Shirley. I think her
Yeah.
last name was Wilson, Shirley Wilson,
Mm.
and they had a child
And
in '91, which
he
was
mentions
years after the divorce.
I know your sister in the song.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Mom, I know your sister too. Yeah.
I think, it's maybe like I think he was messing around with her sister when he was in Zeppelin, in my opinion. I think Robert Plant had some kind of magical power over women. I really do. Yeah.
I mean, just based on his stage presence, I mean,
Yeah, I think the guy was just like, come to me, and like they all did. I don't know. And Jimmy Page definitely did. Where John Paul Jones and John Bonham were more family. Like they were the family men, and Plant and Page were the rock stars. Although Bonham was crazy in his own way, he was nuts, like Keith Moon nuts. But they were just They really wanted to be family men. Those two, in my opinion. All right.
I could say something pretty funny. That something my wife said. I never believed that she would ever say something like this. I've taken my wife to see Robert Plant, I think, 4 or 5 times in concert. I think the first time was back around 1988 when he had the hair and he was just the golden god. He was
Yeah.
unbelievable. And my wife said this like just last month. She just, we were talking about Led Zeppelin and Robert Plant, and she just blurted out, Robert Plant is a sexual beast. It just blew my mind. I didn't think my wife was capable of such a thought.
I mean,
I'm figuring my family won't go an hour and a half into this podcast, so I can say it.
He was. I think
he did have powers over women.
Oh, totally.
I mean, just his stage presence. No, just his stage presence alone, you can tell.
But he also was a fun guy. I mean, he was the guy that would go into McDonald's and he would, the kids would see him and go, "Oh my God, it's Robert Plant." And Plant would like put the hands on the hips and strut the hair and do a rock star pose for them.
Yeah,
he would just have fun with it.
Yeah, he seems like he's a good guy, and I always told you about the urban legend that this girl I know who worked at the temple came running in one day, and she's like, "Oh my God, I was standing behind Robert Plant in the Greenwich Starbucks, not the temple Starbucks, but the other one." And I'm like, "Why didn't you say anything?" She's like, "I was starstruck." I would have been like all over the dude, But yeah, I think him and Ian Gillan had that power over women. They were just because even Ian Gillan had it too. He was just like, phenomenal. Two of the greatest frontmen ever. Ozzy had his own thing, but it wasn't for women. He was just Ozzy.
I was gonna say, do Ozzy? I don't think so.
Yeah, certain people like even like David Lee Roth, women loved. David Lee Roth.
Oh well, yeah. He invented the new '80s, like wearing, whatever, like tight clothing, leather.
Steven Tyler, I think, had that kind of thing. That kind of, So, the Black Country Woman. It's like when I first heard it as a kid, I'm like, what is this song about? I always like, questioned it. Should we roll it, Jimmy? As an airplane flies by, cough. I love it. They left it in there. Acoustic blues, great lyrics. Plant literally sounds like he's in pain, like, not physical, but like hurting, Open tuning, then the drums kick in with that kind of bluesy thing. Then in the middle of the song, it starts rocking out. Again, they make you wait. Great harmonica solo. It fades out with the harp. And then he says, "What's the matter with you, mama?" And he ends the song. What's up with mama? And Bob Dylan and Robert Plant, what's up with mama? Everything's mama.
That's a good question.
Like,
I think they took that from the black playing musicians.
I don't think Neil Peart.
Mama was baby.
Yeah, I don't think Neil Peart ever used the word mama or baby.
No, you got to have a lot of swagger to say that.
Yeah. Those guys from Canada, they didn't have the swagger. Geddy Lee definitely wasn't getting the chicks. The girls were not throwing themselves at
Actually,
Geddy Lee.
speaking of like frontmen that had so much sex appeal, Geddy Lee, man.
He had bass appeal.
Oh,
You're a bass player, you were throwing yourself at him. You know what I mean? Like, oh
which
my
is like
God.
which is like old dudes, which is like old dudes.
I think if anyone got any, and they were all family men, but I think if any girls were into, it would have been Alex, because Alex almost had a Robert Plant, and he had the golden mane
Yeah.
going on. Good look,
Yeah.
good, you know.
Yeah.
Alex was a good looking guy when he was young. You know, so always got to bring up Rush, Joe. And Bob Dylan, I can't figure it out. Not a good looking guy. You know what I mean? Like far
Dude,
from a good.
dude, I mean, we don't know if this is true, but Joan Baez, Sue's, that Sue's girl, Sarah Lowndes,
Yeah.
and God knows who else. But yeah, I
Oh,
think it's just he had swagger.
the pill shaped hat. What was that called? The pill shaped hat song.
Leopard skin pillbox hat.
Yeah. There was the model in that he was hanging out with. So, Bob Dylan got a lot. He got a lot of girls for a guy who was just, not really that good looking.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, getting back to the song, I think this might be Robert Plant's most autobiographical tune as far as the lyrics. And it's definitely about the relationship with the two sisters.
No, and I
Yeah.
never noticed it. That's why I always focus on the music first. Never really delve into this. Obviously, I know the lyrics, but never really looked at it.
How do you do it? How do you write a song and then maybe it was so coded that the wives never figured it out. Like Robert.
Well, also it's on side 4. I mean,
maybe they didn't even listen to the album. They're like, oh, you're in the
I mean, honestly, I don't think they did. I think they just listened to Kashmir and like that's it.
They're like, hey, give me my check, and go on tour and go see the LA Queens and then come back. I mean, they know how could you be married to those guys and not know they're gonna be hooked? They're gonna be. I knew a guy, and he wasn't a liar. I know this guy. He worked in the cheese department at the Temple. His name was Mike. Me and my friend Dave, who passed away, would call him Uncle Mike. And we used to party hard. This guy used to party pretty friggin' hard. And he would have been in their age bracket. And he said he knew a girl in Seattle who had a cabin in the woods, and he was like living with her. And she said to him, and I don't know, I don't think he's lying. He wasn't the kind of guy that would lie. She said, this weekend, a superstar is going to spend the weekend with us because her girlfriend was going to be there. But you got to treat him like a regular person. And this is like during like Led Zeppelin 4. And it was John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones had a girlfriend, according to this guy, in Seattle. And he spent the weekend with him in a cabin, hanging out with him. And he said he was like the coolest guy. And he couldn't. He couldn't be like, oh my God, you're John Paul Jones, or he wouldn't have any of that, So that was just the rumor, but I believe it. And I was surprised. I'm like John Paul. I was kind of let down. I'm like, oh really, John Paul Jones? But of course they had girlfriends, man. They're Led Zeppelin. Gonna have girlfriends. Okay. All right. Speaking of girlfriend,
like how they left it. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What were you going to say, Joe?
No, I like how they had the beginning with the airplane. What you were saying about "Shall we roll it, Jimmy"?
Roll it, Jimmy.
Oh, one again. Yeah, and the little car.
No.
Yeah,
that was
airplane. No, just leave it.
We always say that. Leave it. Call.
No, and his accent's funny. In his accent, he says, "Shall we roll it, Jimmy?" Like they're so like proper. Like,
I mean, what we didn't talk about with 10 Years Gone was the tail out to that when they just reduce the volume and it just fades out. But he's singing about singing a song on and on, singing a song, and it's very hard to pick up. But I had the headphones and I had the vinyl, and music
That
sounded great back then instead of really
that was
tinny coming out
cool.
my
Going
Echo.
back with those big cans, we used to call them cans. You know, you put them on, and you can hear every detail. You can hear. Like we were talking about, Joe. Remember monophonic versus stereophonic, where you would turn the
Yeah.
speaker, you'd hear everything out of one speaker. You know, it was monophonic because Dylan in '67 got away from monophonic and everything was stereophonic at that point. And I think that was the thing because you had the kids were listening to, they're blowing their ears away with. Imagine that, put those giant things and cranking it to 10. That's how I blew. I think I.
Well, now
blew.
people listen. Well, now it's AirPods.
Yeah, but there's safe features in that, like for your hearing. I mean, I think I blew my hearing out listening to the cans, fucking Slayer, and you know. So Sick Again. About the teenage groupies, and we'll just leave it at that. You know, the LA Queens, who their main goal.
Just leave. I was gonna say just leave the, how shall we say, like the seeds, and then whoever wants to make them grow and find out, they can.
Yeah, their main goal was to hook up with the band. That was it. You know, a lot of these girls were runaways. They would travel just to LA to go to the Hyatt House. They called it the Riot House. So when Zeppelin came and they stayed there, it was all groupies and crazy shit going on, and that's basically what that's about. A great intro. I love the hits that the drums do in the beginning. Nice groove, fast hits, nice pre-chorus. It's moving down in sequence. Nice slide work. Great guitar solo with syncopated rhythm underneath it. The ending. Listen to the ending of this song. It's crazy. It's so fast. The ending just speeds up, and the guitar work is insane. How fast Jimmy Page. He's playing like Eddie Van Halen at the end. I don't know if you guys noticed that. How fast the ending of the song is. It's crazy. It's literally Eddie Van Halen before Eddie Van Halen. He's just like ripping. He's shredding.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page is shredding at the end of this song. So
yeah.
Bonham goes nuts too.
Oh yeah, of course.
He goes nuts. This is one that, and when they played it live, it was even more urgent and more loud and more boisterous. I don't know how to describe it than the studio album. It was just wow.
Yeah, it's thunderous.
Life depends on it.
Yeah.
But this song would never lyrically be written today.
No, lyrically, I mean, it's problematic. But, and it's funny, you guys want to hear something? Plant took pity upon these girls who would flock to the hotel rooms, and I'm not going to go into too much detail. And he said here in an interview in 1975, mind you, 1975, he said that if you listen to Sick Again, he says at the word show, I feel a bit sorry for the girls. So I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but yeah, lyrically it's yikes.
Well,
but
I mean, there's nothing bad about it, but it's like, I'm looking in your eyes. One day soon, you're going to reach 16.
Well, that's what I'm referring to. And no, and it's funny because I mean, I guess no one's gonna watch this deep into the video, most likely. Like, right? It's like this is probably like side 4 of Physical Graffiti, but clutching pages from your teenage dream in the lobby of the Hotel Paradise through the circus of the LA Queen, how fast you learn the downhill slide. And he says 1 minute she's 12, and then minute she's 13, and over the top. And he says, such a shame. They haven't got the style that they had in the old days, way back in '68. But yeah, it's interesting. The LA Queens is its own thing. I mean, that's
Plant's done interviews, and he said that a lot of these girls did not survive the '70s.
Mm-hmm.
No, they got addiction was a horrible thing, and they never got out of that downward spiral. And he made friends with some of these women, and they're not around anymore.
No,
and haven't been around for decades.
And they were kids, you know. I mean, when you're 16 years old, your brain is still a child. You would know that, man, from psychology, right? You know, your brain is.
Dude, brain doesn't reach full maturity until you're 21, 24, in that age range.
You know, but to them to hook up with Led Zeppelin is like
Right.
it's fantasy. Yeah, if I was 15 and I hooked up with Lita Ford, oh my God, I would do it in a second. You know what I mean? And if Chrissy Hines called me in the 80s, I wouldn't think twice. You know what I mean? Pat Bennett, come on, keep them coming. You know, I mean, so Ann Wilson before Ann Will I was in love with Ann Wilson. Oh my God,
Wait, 80s, wait, 80s Ann Wilson?
70s, Little Queens. I think she's one of them. Like she's just so beautiful on that album, on the Little Queens album. You know, the lead singer Ann Wilson. You know, and then she got big and stuff, but she still could sing her ass off. But in a second, if Ann Wilson was like, "Hey, you," I'm there. Just me. But I would have been the LA King.
LA Kings. Wait, isn't that, what is it? LA Kings. Isn't that a sports team?
Hockey team.
Hockey team. There we go.
Speaking of, you went to St. John's, right, Manny?
Yeah. Yep.
Then they won today, right? The beginning of the.
I think so. Yeah.
They won. Yeah, against Butler. I think they were playing.
Yeah. So. Go SJU.
I heard that on the news today, and I heard they're bringing back the firing squad in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that twisted? They stated the law that they're bringing back the firing squad. That's what I heard on the news today, and I was like, electronically. So crazy. Fun fact that I heard. I don't know if it's fun or not. Okay. The last thing I got. Fun facts. They're bringing back the firing squad. I don't know. I'm getting tired.
And on that note, oh, and just one more thing about Sick Again, dude. It's glam and hard rock.
Oh, it's the predecessor to
I hear the glam rock
to the 80s because that's.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was gonna say, dude, this song is Zeppelin. No, this song is Van Halen, and a lot of the lyrics that they're gonna be singing about.
Yeah, but
Jamie's crying.
Mm-hmm. The girls are a little bit older. They might have been 18 at that point. In the LA scenes in the 80s, because that was the thing in the 70s. They were just runaways, and there's a great documentary on Plaster Cast I've seen with Sweet Connie
and a famous Kiss song, and it's funny because that's what about. It's funny because when I saw Almost Famous, I that movie for me is due a rewatch. I watched it way back when I was like 23. Like right now I'm 32, so it was like 10 years ago. But I always felt bad. I couldn't even understand why for Penny Lane and those girls. Like there's something so sad about them. Like the movie doesn't really obviously they touch upon some of their issues, but it's just what Joe said. What Plant later reflects that a lot of them, I don't know.
I mean,
there's something sad about them.
The same thing goes with particular in that era, the 80s, particular movies that were made, and we won't say what they were. There's a couple of celebrities who made those movies, like Tracy Lords. I don't know if you ever heard of her. She was somebody I was in love with when I was 14. She was like 16 making those movies. So that was going on. That was stuff that was going on for forever. It's still probably going on now, Of course it's going on now. Just go on Instagram, right? OnlyFans. Anyway, G-rated. So, Swan Song. And Joe made the pilgrimage to the New York office. Right? Back in 5.
yeah.
So
16-year-old Joe.
it's awesome, man. Wish I was.
It was
I
at
wish.
444 Madison Avenue.
What's that?
It was at
Oh,
444 Madison Avenue in New York City.
wow, man. So Zepp started Swan Song in 1974 with Peter Grant, so they could sign new and up and coming bands. After being with Atlantic for 5 years, they started it, but Atlantic would still distribute them because they needed that power of a major label to do that. There was a New York office and an LA office. Now, the Swan Song, not an original artwork. Hypnagogus, am I saying it wrong?
Hypnosis. The famous.
Hypnagogia.
The one that they designed, the Houses of the Holy album cover.
When I think of hypnagogia, it's when you're in the state of sleep and wake. I don't know.
Wait, no, hypnosis. That's what it is.
No, hypnagogic state. It's like this weird state that you're in. It's almost like sleep paralysis. It's just bizarre.
Dude, that's not hypnosis.
No, it's different. It's different. It's
What's
used
it called?
in hypnagogia. It's a magical thing. It's used in.
Dude, I've never heard of it.
When you if you're into astral traveling, it's the state you want to be in. And it puts you in sleep paralysis, which is not fun. You know. So it's based on a painting. He actually stole it, The Fall of the Day, in 1869 painting by William Rimmer. And I sent that to you guys, I think, a while ago. So it's not really original. It's taken from this painter, which is pretty amazing. Here's a fun fact. Do you know what movie Swan Song funded? Joe?
I know.
You know?
Ooh. Oh, okay. All right.
I know.
I'm going to say Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Nope.
No?
No. The other famous one.
The Holy Grail. 1975. But you were good. You got Monty Python. The label ended in 1983. And just to go over it, without doing, if you're doing this album, you got to talk about it. So the most famous band on it, next to Led Zeppelin, was Bad Company. And for the younger audience out there who doesn't know who Bad Company is, you should immediately run out and buy or download or stream or whatever the hell you do every Bad Company album out there. Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke, they came from a band called Free. Mick Ralphs, guitar player, came from Mott the Hoople. Boz Burrell came from King Crimson. Some of their hit songs: Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Feel Like Making Love, Rock and Roll Fantasy, Good Lovin' Gone Bad, among Bad Company. Albums: Bad Company, Straight Shooter, Running with the Pack. I don't know about you guys. I worship that band. I love Bad Company. I mean, next to Plant, I think Paul Rodgers is the voice of rock and roll. Him and Glenn Hughes and Plant. Then another person, a underrated singer, and I know Joe knows who she is, Maggie Bell. She was in a band called Sown the Crows, which was with a guy named James Dewar, who was Robin Trower's singer and bass player. She had an album called Suicide Sal. And speaking of Ann Wilson, she had that kind of Ann Wilson vibe, that powerful kind of voice. Then there's the Pretty Things. And I didn't know this band goes back to 1965. And they had the album Silk Torpedo. And they were like a glam band. And then Joe's favorite album, Detective, 1977. Produced by Jimmy. And you'll be surprised, man. Tony Kaye from Yes, he played keyboards on this album. you know. And then Dave Edmunds. I don't know if you ever heard of Dave Edmunds. He was a rockabilly guy. I actually knew his wife. She used to shop at the Temple. She was also married to Roger Glover. Tracks on Wax, 1978. And another interesting band called Sad Cafe was pop rock. And you ever hear of Paul Young, the singer from the 80s? Joe probably remembers Paul Young.
Mm-hmm.
You ever hear of him, Manny? He just had this Every Time I Go Away.
He sounds familiar.
They get a song Every Time You Go Away. The guy had a phenomenal voice, but that was where he came up. And I actually started to listen to this album. My Oh My is a great song. Emptiness, it's like a funky song. Death Wish 2, Jimmy Page did the music for that. And then in 1982, the band, the label disbanded. And when they were cleaning out the offices, they found demos from Iron Maiden and Heart. So they were looking to sign them at one point, which I found very interesting. So that's just a little history of, Swan Song, and it's kind of cool. Like, I guess they were, maybe copying the Beatles, because the Beatles started their own label.
Well, it's funny because I don't know about Swan Song, but I know Apple, what did they call it? Apple. I don't know if they were being cheeky with this, but they called it Apple Core or something. They're multi-label. I think it was called Apple Core. But dude, it ended in failure.
Really? Didn't they sign Badfinger? That was like the big band that they signed.
But that band they never went anywhere though. They kind of fizzled out, even though they were great. No, they should have.
Singer ended up committing suicide. It was I read his book.
Because of the lack of success. Yep.
Oh, so the Beatles.
They kind of discovered also James Taylor.
Oh, really?
Well, in a way, because James Taylor ends up going to. Oh, so that's it. Joe, Cheech is gone.
Oh, what happened? No warning.
So at 1 hour, past the 1 hour and 30 mark, his phone begins to bug, and he can't. And if he gets a call, it's over, because his phone is too outdated. So we'll be done.
So there's been a coup. Maybe I did it purposely.
Wait.
Oh wait, here he is.
There he is. Cheech, what happened? You're back.
Well, we're at my 2 hour mark, so.
Yeah, I was telling Joe at this point, if you get a phone call, it's over.
I didn't get a phone call, but we'll make it quick before you lose me.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, so Cheech, ultimately, was Swan Song a success or failure?
Oh, I think it was a huge success because it got
well, with Bad Company alone.
Just because of Bad Company, all the other bands never went anywhere, but Bad Company became huge. I mean, almost as big as Led Zeppelin. They could have been as big as Led Zeppelin if they kept going. The problem with Bad Companies that came out in 1975, and then they by time the late set, they only had a short run from 74 to like 79, but it was album after album. Right. And then the 80s came, and it was like, what do you do? With all this technology. And then they broke up, and then they did a bunch of shitty albums. They reformed with a new singer, which was disgraceful, a disgrace to Bad Company. They replaced Paul Rodgers with some. Right. It was like real 80s slick poppy. Yeah, it was a couple good songs, but I'm starting to freeze up.
I can think of one kind of negative song. If you want to hear it, it's not a positive; it's a negative.
Yeah.
I think when Swan Song was in full flight, it created a lot of pressure for Peter Grant, and Peter Grant wasn't able to spend enough time focusing on Led Zeppelin. He had to focus on all these other acts and the record company. I think there was a lot of pressure, and I think that it led to Peter Grant's own problems with addiction that he later kicked after the band disbanded.
That's great. That's a great.
It was very hard, I think, to get a grant.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. But they made some money. They made money especially off a Bad Company. Elliot Ewert, he took a picture of 2 apartment buildings that were constructed next to each other at 96 and 98 St. Mark's Place in New York. And they used the building windows and layouts to create the album cover that fans could customize. And that's pretty much the album cover before I get shut down.
So iconic. And Joe has it up. That's the wait, is that the original, Joe?
This is the insert. This is one of the inserts, and you can turn it around, and there's more pictures.
That is such an iconic album cover.
Like a nighttime thing. But this is the inner sleeve, and you can see pictures of the band. And there's 4 of these, front and back.
Now, is it still there?
Oh, it's got to still be there. I mean, here's what it looks like when you take the sleeves out. It's all cut out.
Wow.
I feel like production, I could see why that was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's why it's supposed to
There were delays.
Supposed to come out in 74, but came out in 75. But anyway, I'm about to freeze.
That's cool.
So, guys, we did it. We did the physical graffiti. Next one, we'll do presents. And we talked about maybe doing our top 10 favorite Led Zeppelin songs to keep the Zeppelin train roll going. I don't want it to
like that. What, like a top 10 list from each, or one? Wait, top 10 list from each person, or like one wheel to make a top 10?
Like what we did with Rob, with Rush, we each pick 10 songs that are our favorite Zeppelin songs. Same kind of thing.
But that's after we film Coda.
It could be before, whenever, just to keep it going, because like I want to do the Firm's first album and Lance's first album and kind of like, I don't know, maybe compare the two in a way, and see like, the differences.
Cheech is gone.
And Joe's seen the Firm, so that's amazing.
Right. Might as well wrap it up. We can do that. It'll give me something to do. Zeppelin only put out 81 songs as a band.
Did I freeze?
Think how many songs Bob Dylan has put out.
Oh my goodness! And not even counting
up with the top 10.
No, and not even counting his reworkings of his own songs, because there are versions that are better than the original recordings. Which that's Bob Dylan is like monstrous, but But yeah, no, I like those ideas though. I think we'll do. I know we're gonna do presents next, and then I guess we'll see what happens after. Maybe in and out,
in through the outdoor,
in through the outdoor. Which
I think we're gonna skip the movie soundtrack to The Song Remains the Same.
Yeah.
Wait, we're gonna skip it.
Yeah.
Unless Cheech, he'll probably want to cover it, which I'll be down because I'm now on a Led Zeppelin kick. No, I'm loving Led Zeppelin. But,
you're good.
All right, Joe. So I'll edit this. I'll see what we'll do.
All right.
And
man,
then
you're good.
Yeah.
You're
until
good.
The next one.
As always, it was fun.
Joe, thank you for being on the show, man. You bring in the Led Zeppelin swagger, shirts, albums. I love it.
All right, Manny, take it easy.
Yeah. So we'll say goodbye to Cheech, and then Joe. Again, thank you for being on the show, man. Until the next one. Till presents.
Till presents.
All right.
Take care. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.